240 entered virtual Talladega this week with a chance to win $2,000, a championship belt, and the ultimate glory of being called a PGR Crown Jewel winner. Now, as Saturday arrives and the weekend begins, just 96 drivers remain that are eligible for tomorrow afternoon's biggest sim racing event of the summer. Over the course of the next several hours, we will not only set the grid for tomorrow afternoon's feature, but we will know which driver will lead the field to green tomorrow at 2 p.m. It is the most high-stakes night of racing of the entire week. And as the field once again convenes in virtual Lincoln, Alabama, it's time for last chance qualifiers. Welcome to SummerSlam Saturday for the SummerSlam 499. Good evening from virtual Talladega. My name is Dawson Wise, and you are watching PGR eSports coverage of the SummerSlam 499 last chance qualifiers. Tonight, the heat races are over and provided some of the most chaotic racing we have ever seen in PGR eSports competition. But tonight, the stakes raise just a little bit more. This is the final opportunity for drivers to lock their way into tomorrow afternoon's feature. Some of the biggest names of the event have been relegated to last chance qualifiers. Again, with the duels going out the door this year, there's only 2 opportunities to advance into the race tomorrow. You had to either advance through your heat race, we'll see those drivers later in the top 24 shootout race, or you have to advance through one of 2 last chance qualifiers. We'll get to how those races will work out in just a moment. Let's bring in the rest of our broadcast team tonight. Of course, our producer downstairs is Michael Triscara doing hard work. You'll see him later on racing in the last chance provisional race. We'll tell you more about that event later on in the night as well. But my co-host once again this evening is Garrett Jenkins, aka Jim Bob. And Jim Bob, you've gotten to see the last night of racing with me now, but as we arrive on Saturday, you can almost feel the tension. The stakes have risen. This is the last opportunity. You thought there was desperation last night and throughout the heats. Tonight, surely it will rise just a little bit more as drivers realize their race is on the line tonight. They only have one opportunity over 35 laps.
And the worst thing about it is, if you are drivers that are sitting outside the top 8, you probably will not be going on. Well, you definitely won't be going on to Sunday. So you're going to take 36 guys, and only 8 are going to be going to Sunday. The stakes, as you said, could not be any higher. You can feel it now. The tension is through the roof, and dare I say, some of these guys who we normally don't see antsy, I believe it is starting to get to them now, because as you said, this is it. Your last chance, and we only take 8 out of here.
Well, before we get going in LCQ number 1, I want to thank our couple of title sponsors for this event, Bolt That Towing Company and Chris Carter Racing and the Flying Aces. You'll see both of their sponsored drivers tonight. Chris Blanchard is in last chance qualifier number 2. Chris Carter, I believe, is here in this first one. Nope, looks like he is also in LCQ number 2. So a pair of drivers racing tonight for their chance at tomorrow. I want to thank them for their support, not only of PGR eSports, but of this year's SummerSlam 499. But it's time to get down to business. We'll tell you about the format in a moment, how this race will differ from the heats, but it's time to meet the starters for this first last chance qualifier event. And that grid is not what I am seeing on my screen right now, at least in terms of how the guys have lined up on the racetrack. So we'll see if we can get an updated grid here as guys get onto the racetrack and get ready to go green in this first last chance qualifier. On the pole, by virtue of the heat finish of 4th earlier in the week. Again, in the dual races in February and in last August, this would be a heat winner that would start up front in one of these kinds of races. Tonight, it will be 4th place finishers that start up front. The higher you finish, the higher you'll start in this event. Sean Boundy will go from the pole here of last chance qualifier number 1. Marquee events have not been nice to the driver of the 34, but tonight he'll make an attempt from the best position he can. To his outside, Nikita Lyubimov in the 33 had a good effort in his heat race as well. He'll start from 2nd. Row 2, Jaden Newson trying to make his 2nd straight marquee start after starting February's PGR 500. He'll start from alongside Max DiFilippi in the blue and black number 12. 12, one of the drivers for EPI. Row 3, we'll see Casey Sprinkle from McCullough Motorsports go from the 5th position. One of the more impressive drivers in his heat race will have to race out of this LCQ alongside one of the many entries for the Jack Shack. Justin Melikar starts from position number 6. Back on row 4 to be Matt Davies in the 32 alongside Wyatt Hicks in car 78. They'll go from 7th and 8th respectively. And then rounding up the top 10 back in the 9th spot, it's going to be Justin Harris in the Rebel Bourbon number 8 machine alongside Matthew Boniface, another EPI branded entry. He'll start from 10th. On row 6, Miles Bagley in the Chick-fil-A Chevrolet will start from 11th for Nightmare Esports alongside Anthony Trippi in car 84, who led laps in his heat race. Row 7, Josh Cruz in the Heatwave Chevrolet will start from 13th alongside Taylor Peacock in the purple and gray number 81. Row 8, Al Babrin will start from 15th alongside Thomas Bennett, looking to make his first start since the 500 in February. He'll go from 16th in this one. Nightmare Esports driver Nathan Harper will start from 17th. The dominant car of his heat. Late troubles for him have forced him into this LCQ alongside Matthew Francis in the Red Bull machine. Row 10 and rounding out the top 20, Peyton Tolik in the Red, White, and Blue 17 alongside Tater Seipel. One of the stories of his heat race in the 29, father of Nick Seipel, trying to join his son in the feature tomorrow. Row 11, Eugene Mozganov will drive from 21st tonight for EPI. Alongside him, another EPI branded entry, Barrett Polimas, a top 10 finisher in February in the 500. Row 12, the two-time defending winner Malik Ray of this race will start from 23rd. Chase Mistretta for the Jack Shack will start from the 24th position. Row 13, Jesse Calloway in the 4 alongside Team PGR's Mike Davenport will start 25th and 26th. Back on row 14 to be Garrett Caswell, a dual winner from February, alongside Peyton Holland in the purple and black Twitch branded entry. Running out the top 30, the Jack Shack's Matt Lee completes the entries in this event, or at least in this first LCQ. P29, Kurt Quist will start alongside him in 30th. Row 16, Junsa Lim will start from 31st, another EPI branded motor machine in this field tonight. Zach Dahmer will start from 32nd. Row 17, James Waring, our Heat 1 sponsor, will start from 33rd for Dega Pros alongside Brandon Broadfoot in car 22. And rounding up the field, Brandon Lopez in the Red Bull machine and Alex Coffey for Precision Speed Solutions and Dig eSports. 8 drivers make it in, 28 see their journey come to an end tonight in Talladega. Who makes the feature? Who goes home? High stakes racing. LCQ number 1 is green. And the high-stakes racing is not going to make any competitors back down from the aggression that we've seen over the last 2 nights. Already 7 cars in the outside lane as Miles Bagley bullies his way up in front of Anthony Trippi. A couple of cars diving out of line. That was Mistretta about halfway deep in the field. Matt Lee, his teammate, will join him as up front, Boundy blocks bottom to top on Lyubimov. He'll lead lap 1. It's now 8 cars in the top lane. Wyatt Hicks is up in front of Bagley, but gets more than he can bargain for. Hicks around and a big crash early in LCQ number 1.
Good grief. Well, lap 1. And Dawson, I can say, some guys tonight in their hopes may be dashed. So far, there is no meatball flag being shown on my side. A multi-car incident to get us started here tonight. As, well, we figured and we wondered how aggressive were they going to be. You could already feel the intensity ramped up. See, you can't see what in the world happened. They are 3 wide already. It looks like Bagley gets into the back of the 78, and around they go. And then, of course, right back up the track, and a big name already involved early in Miles Bagley, who, again, one of the dark horses coming into tonight in this whole event. He'll get through, but I almost wonder would there be an EOL coming his way.
Yeah, you had to wonder about a potential penalty for Bagley here. They were trying to line up a push on Wyatt Hicks. That's the gray and orange 78 on the outside there, and Bagley's offset. He's actually getting a bit of help from behind from Anthony Trippi there. So you wonder if there was any choice to be made by Bagley but to go right through the left rear of Hicks. And a couple of other cars getting in this as well. Peacock is in on the bottom side. Looks like Cruz might have been the other car on the inside that got involved. Barrett Polimus actually gets turned in the secondary portion of this as well in the 79. You see him in the red and black 79 on the inside there. He and Davenport come together, and he's going to come back up the racetrack. It should be noted here, by the way, Jim Bob, we did not have time to say this before the race got underway. There is no fast repair in the pits tonight. You had one in your heat races. Those do-overs are gone. You have to work on one car throughout these LCQs. The rest of the weekend, there is only one opportunity. You've got to keep your car clean. So for Hicks, for Bagley, and for some others, an early setback that you can't just come down and automatically reset and get back into this race. You have to address the damage in these races, and they're not any longer. They're still 35 laps. So for Bagley, he'll stay out here. So you have to wonder, maybe the damage is not quite as bad as we thought. Trippy and Polimus will come down pit road. Wyatt Hicks is already off the pace of the leaders trying to get the damage repaired on his 78. So a number of cars with damage, and that fast repair advantage he had over the last 3 nights, it is gone.
Well, and for Hicks, I mean, I'll be surprised that car can even come back to, let alone get into a top 8 spot. I'd be more worried that car could really hold on to the draft, as right now, look at the Miles Bagley Chick-fil-A machine, which, of course, if Miles Bagley wins, gives me an excuse like Nathan Harper to go to Chick-fil-A at some point over the next week. But really, for what we saw, did not look like there's much, maybe just a slight bit of damage to the front of that machine. I do not think it's going to really hurt Bagley's chances damage-wise. It's just going to be, you said it, 35 laps, 36 guys. You just can't come from 22nd, 29th like you could last night. And really, Wednesday and Thursday for that matter, you got a little bit more guys in this field with a lot more desperation now. As right now, Dawson, I also throw this out there to you. The longer we stay under caution, the less likely these guys are going to have a lot of time to make something happen. As you look at the choose cone for tonight, of course, pretty simple when you look at it. If you run over to A, that is highlighted in the orange box, you will be going to the back. That is a choose code violation. You either go next to Tall or Dega to say which lane you're in. And Dawson, we saw over the last 3 days, it really bit a lot of drivers, and for some, it effectively ended their SummerSlam 499 hopes.
Yeah, so a good time to talk about some rule changes for this week's events. Again, the choose cone has been implemented as a part of this week's event. So you see right there the graphic. This makes it a whole lot more simple to explain with a visual there than we've had the last 3 nights. So again, by the start-finish line, you must have declared your lane and go to the inside or the outside of the A in Talladega. That middle A will have a choose cone right here at the line. And we saw multiple penalties last night. Again, very similar to what you see on Sundays with the NASCAR Cup Series drivers. The choose cone is there. We just don't have the orange marking on the racetrack at this point in time. So a bit of an arbitrary mark there with the word mark A on the front straightaway right before the start-finish line. We saw multiple penalties last night. Guys choosing too late, driving over the box, going to the back. And drivers that got those penalties ended up involved in crashes right after. Jacob Dunn comes to mind in a heat a couple of nights ago. Josh McCullough last night, although you'll see him here in a little while. Multiple drivers get the penalty and immediately see their race go awry just for, again, something as minor as clipping that letter on the front stretch. On the choose, Boundy holds serve. Newson goes behind him, then Lyubimov. First drivers go to the inside. Casey Sprinkle's going to take a trip down there. Max DiFilippi will jump down there, as will Justin Harris, amongst a couple of other cars that have decided to make the run to the inside. Looks like Josh Cruz has taken 4th on the inside, then Al Baber in behind them. Speaking of Newson, one of the onboard cameras tonight is the 78 towards the front of the field, continues to run 4th. Remember, he started the PGR 500 back in the month of February, making another attempt tonight in a good spot so far. Jim Bob, an early caution. We talked about it last night in the heat races. You can't imagine, especially with no fast repair, considering the stakes, you cannot imagine this does much for the nerves of the drivers inside these race cars right now.
I'm going to tell you, I wouldn't even want to be in this position. No way. Rest assured, I would love to be going on to an LCQ if that means still having a chance here, but I do not envy none of the position that these guys are in, as we still got a lot of good guys and guys who showed the way over the last 3 days that are still back behind. And of course, Justin Millicar, one of them, right now sits in ninth. On the outside looking in, Harper Lee, several other big names as the field comes down to the SWM restart zone. Bundy and Sprinkle brings us down. We're rolling again from Talladega. Dawson, I'll let you take it away.
And it was a good jump on the inside. Casey Sprinkle matched Sean Bounty punch for punch there in the restart box. They'll go even here to turn one. And out back, Francis is the first to move again. The Red Bull Gray 27 out back of the field, although this time not as much willingness to help from the drivers around him. He'll go backwards in that Gray 27 all the way to the tail end almost of this lead group. Off turn two, the outside gets rolling. Newson on the push, but here comes some cars to the outside. The Jack Shack's Justin Millicar leads the outside charge. Now it's Newson that will jump on his nose, and all of a sudden 5, 6 cars jump to the wall, and all in behind Jaden Newson. Boniface is in that line for EPI. Matt Lee is in that line. Peyton Tulik, June Salim. So 2 of the EPI branded entries, 2 of the Jack Shack's cars in that outside lane as they come up alongside Bounty, and the bottom lane is left to wonder what happened. Sprinkle and Harris got up. Everybody else relegated to the bottom as Bagley wanted 4 wide, about 5 rows deep in the field. It's going to relegate to just 3 as Harris is knocked down to the bottom of the racetrack. Miles Bagley not taking prisoners early. Neither is Lyubimov. He's to the inside. That's the 33, but nobody goes with him. Davies turns right instead of left. Lyubimov will wait on Sprinkle in the center now off turn 2, but it's been all Sean Bounty so far. An impressive effort early in this one.
Well, right now, and there you see already 3 wide, as we mentioned. Unlike last night, again, only 8 are going to tomorrow. So right now, you're going to see guys now starting to get desperate. I would not be surprised if we do see 4 wide coming up here, particularly as the laps tick away. 28 laps to go. Bounty still leading through the trouble. There you see the 27 drops down. Francis is going to try to pull that 3rd lane. Still Bundy at the line. And to be flat out honest with you, the man that I believe everybody is chasing right now, here comes Malik Ray with Casey Sprinkle to the inside. Sprinkle takes it to the top spot. Oh, one around. No, they don't. They don't save it. Hard into the inside wall. There's 2 cars at least, maybe more.
And Eugene Mozganov was one of the first cars I saw get around the 48. He's who got bumped off the racetrack there when that thing sparked up in the middle lane. As they came through turns 1 and 2, that's where this one gets started. It involves a few cars. You wondered if that one could have been bigger than it was. It ends up only being 3 cars. Mozganov, Lyubimov, who I think is the car that got turned, and Matt Davies in the 32, the other car involved. There you see Mozganov. He's sideways. It's going to be a push in the center. It's actually Lyubimov pushing Davies. Davies gets kicked out of line. Boy, look at how close that was. With a Logitech branded 88 and Malik Ray on the inside. He narrowly misses this one and gets in front of it. For Mozganov, he makes the save. Davies and Lyubimov not quite as lucky. And then they come down to the inside. Josh Cruz has to bail out of the way. Disciplined by the rest of the field to not create a secondary incident in this. Both of these cars, though, are going to get the spot on the wall where that inside lane juts out. It's a big hit for Davies. Lyubimov gets both the 32 and the wall. And now curious on the damage on both those cars. Again, with no fast repair, you wonder how severe the damage is. And it's almost similar to the first incident, Jim Bob. Bagley through Lyubimov, through Davies. Lyubimov trying to set up the push, not given an opportunity to square up on the back bumper, and turns Davies out of line, and it's on from there. Props to Mozganov for a huge save right there in the 48.
Well, one of them, he got away with one, as did Malik Ray, and really what you're seeing is kind of similar to what we saw Monday and Tuesday. More on Monday with the MMS race, that kind of a practice race for the heats, but we're seeing these cars once again getting light off the corners, going into the corners, and I'm surprised we ain't seen nothing to the travel yet, knock on wood, but you're just seeing it, and you add to that, guys are pushing, they're wanting to get every lane they can going, because right now, again, go big or go home. And at this moment in time, I'm thinking everybody's trying to go big, and you're right about one thing. Lucky that it was not bigger than what it was.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we said that a couple of times last night in the heat races as well, that we got away with a few. We did not get away with them for long. I said it a few times last night, and you made a great analogy last night too, Jim Bob, and how many lives does the cat have? And we kind of ran out last night in the heat races. you reckon we'll run out again tonight as these
Probably.
guys continue to get more and more desperate. And we're already past the lap 9 mark in this race. We're already 10 laps in to this 35-lap LCQ. To reset the field for you here briefly under this second caution, Casey Sprinkle continues to lead the way from McCullough Motorsports. They had just made that big run to the bottom of the racetrack with he and Malik Ray, and they'll line up 1-2 on this restart. So the two-time defending champ of the SummerSlam is back up front. 21 spots gained for Malik Ray, 23rd to 2nd, as he tries to avoid leaning on his defending champion's provisional. We'll note that again. If Malik Ray's unable to advance tonight, he'll race tomorrow regardless because of a defending champion's provisional. So keep that in mind for Malik Ray. He may finish outside the transfer spots tonight, but ultimately he'll still be able to defend the belt tomorrow. This is just kind of note-taking for him tonight. Sean Boundy runs in the 3rd spot, Jaden Newson in 4th, and Justin Melikar in the 5th spot. Last 3 drivers in transfers as of now: Miles Bagley, Matthew Boniface, and Matthew Francis. After Francis got back to the front, he got left out to dry on the opening restart there and somehow managed to drive all the way back to 8th. In fact, he had just pulled out of line when Malik Ray and Casey Sprinkle got their big run through the center. So for Francis, a good recovery so far. And again, you start to talk about some of the drivers outside looking in, and it's going to be a lot bigger group of the bigger names in these LCQs. Again, this is a concentration of drivers from heats 1 through 4 that advanced this LCQ. Drivers out looking in: Matt Lee, Junsel Lim, Alex Coffey, who was very good in his heat race, Nathan Harper, Tater Seipel, Chase Mastretta, Mike Davenport, Garrett Caswell, James Waring, Eugene Mozganoff, Josh Cruz, who had a good run in his heat race. You know, a number of big-name drivers outside looking in. By the way, as we get ready to choose, Matt Davies continues to sit on pit road. He is 2 laps down to the leaders as they'll pass by him again on pit road, and it's looking less and less like his car will be able to continue. Wyatt Hicks continues to run at least 1 lap down to the leaders as of right now. Looks like he'll stay just 1 lap down for now. At the choose, top 5 all holds served to the top side. Matthew Boniface says thank you very much and goes right to the bottom. Matthew Francis, no surprise to me, he'll take the bottom lane as well. And then again, you got to look a little ways back. Peyton Tulloch is the next car to take the bottom. After them, it's Alex Coffey, who is outside the top 10, who takes the inside lane here as well. So a number of cars looking for track position. Baberen's going to go down there. Would not be surprised if Nathan Harper did as well. Looking ahead tonight, still several races to go. This is the marathon night before the SummerSlam 499. 3 more races still to come tonight. Right after this race will be last chance qualifier number 2, and you see the field for this next last chance qualifier race. Again, in terms of the stakes of the race, 8 spots, 36 drivers. You see the names on that list. Something has to give in that race. After that, we'll set the top 12 rows of the grid for the SummerSlam 499 with the top 24 shootout race. Those are the drivers that finished top 3 in their heat races throughout the week. That will set the poll back through 24th. After that, it's the last chance provisional race where we'll have 27 cars fighting for 1 provisional spot on tomorrow's grid. Those are drivers that have already been eliminated in some fashion in this race, and maybe even some that are eliminated in tonight's races as well. So keep an eye out for that. That one's going to be a late night show, and it should be almost the most fun race of the weekend, considering what's on the line and the desperation involved in that one. So a lot still to come tonight. This is just the appetizer, if you will, and what better appetizer to start with in an LCQ race that has already delivered some big moments. Sprinkle and Boniface on the front row as we get ready to go back under the green flag for the second time. Second caution cleaned off the speedway. And let's get back down to business here at Talladega as we continue to set the field. Lap 12 will go on the board. 24 laps remain in LCQ race number 1. Back to the Simrat Market restart zone they go. And the field works up, works together. And green flag goes back in the air. Casey Sprinkle, Matthew Boniface off to the races. Ray gets a good jump. Francis got going on the bottom. They're connected. But as has been the story all week, when the control car is on the outside, that lane has been very, very hard to stop.
Well, Sprinkle able to lead them, followed by Malik Ray, the only man who has not got anything to lose tonight. As he'll tack on in the second, Bundy, Newsom, Boniface right behind him, down the back straightaway. There you see 75 jumps out of line. As right now, or 78, my mistake. Sprinkle intends to the outside lane. Newsom or Bundy now trying to pull that bottom lane. Casey Sprinkle hung out to dry by Malik Ray. And for Casey Sprinkle, he's going to be pushed by Miles Bagley as a come off of turn number 4, 3 wide again. Sprinkle comes down and gets into the 27. And
yeah, contact all over the racetrack. Yeah, contact all over the racetrack right now. Look at Miles Bagley out back 8 rows deep in the field. He continues to show a willingness to look 4 wide in this race. By the way, the two Jack Shack cars, Melikar and Lee, have gotten together and shot through the middle. There was almost contact with Melikar and Sprinkle just a moment ago, so they almost got together right in front the entire field. Melikar turns left. He wants the middle. Down the back straightaway, Alex Coffey will be his push in the black and green Monster branded 54, Monster styled 54 with the precision branding. He'll push Melikar all the way to the point. Thomas Bennett clear, and he wants a chance of the lead. He'll go to the nose of Boniface. Top lane is reeling with Ray, Newson, and Boundy. Out back, Polemus tries to make a move 10 rows deep. Bennett, Boniface on the bottom, but the middle will prevail as tandem push between Melikar and Coffey. And here's Chase Mistretta in the 8. I wondered how long it would take that Jack Shack car to get to the front of the field. He is here, and he's on the bumper of Coffey here at the start-finish line. 22 to go in LCQ number 1 as Melikar leads back to turn 1. Coffey being a good soldier for them right now. We know he's been running around those Jack Shack cars, at least in an alliance this week. Same goes for Malik Ray in the 88, although Ray will hang a right here on the nose of Jaden Newson off turn 2, and 4 of those cars on the outside running under the same umbrella. All of a sudden, the Jack Shack, a big presence here back to turn 3.
Well, as they enter turn 3, here comes Bennett down to the bottom, Estrada and Malik Ray. Down to the middle lane, Coffey and Melikar will follow behind them. Melikar right now has the option to play lane control. Hell of a block on Bennett as they work off of turn number 4 through the tri-oval. And right now, if the Jack Shack can kind of dictate this pace like they just did a moment ago, them 4 drivers, you got to imagine, they are going to go and just hold down the top 4 spots. Then you put a lot of other drivers in even more uncomfortable position as the final 4 spots will be determined by them. As you see, Nathan Harper spins to the inside, retaining wall. No caution yet with 21 to go. But a tough break. Well, at least I believe it was Harper. It was the number 4, but nonetheless, goes Malik Ray down to the bottom again.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, that was not Nathan Harper. That was Jesse Calloway. There are 2 number 4s in this race. Harper still representing the Dallas Cowboys colors tonight. That was Calloway. Harper, speaking of, out back makes a 4-wide move on Justin Harris. Not going to go anywhere as of right now. Back at the line, the challenge is on the inside as Ray hung a left out of line. Coffey's going to hang a right on Melikar here and try to jump up to block the emerging Taylor Peacock here at the front. He's got Jaden Newson and Matt Lee up top with him. Mistretta loyal in the middle to Melikar. Ray on the inside has Brandon Lopez. You talk about the run that he had in his heat, involved in 3 crashes and still makes his way into this race. 3 wide for the race lead, and it's the Dig eSports branded Camry of Alex Coffey that goes all the way to the point. Although similar to his heat last night, he'll get hung out here into turn 3. A bit of a mistimed side draft move, and Peacock got to his right rear quarter panel and breaks up the middle and outside lanes. That's going to allow Melikar and Ray to get back clear to the center. Lopez now leads the bottom with Mozganov, Boundy, Junsa Lim, Thomas Bennett in tow. In the center, Tater Seipel has come forward. He's 6th in that middle lane as he's fighting for a transfer spot. Outside now, Peacock, Lee, Harris, and Nathan Harper, who's not made a trip to the front yet, but is trying to. Here as we reach the middle stages, 2 laps from halfway, it continues to be the Jack Shack or Jack Shack aligned cars that dominate this race as Mistretta trying to move on Newson out back. Jaden Newson's been impressive despite the teamwork up front. He's held his own pretty well. He'll go to the bottom here in the entrance of 3 under the push of Brandon Lopez.
Right now, still 3 by 3. A lot of Johnson, I got to say. There was a couple of times last night that 3rd lane needed a little bit of an extra boost to get going. And by boost, I mean the Jack Shack drivers jumping up to the outside lane and really getting that 3rd lane rolling. Matt Lee slides into the last transfer spot, barely over Lopez and Seipel. Justin Melikar continues to lead the way over the reigning 2-time and defending champion of the SummerSlam 499, Malik Ray. Coffey holding on to the outside. Bagley forces him to the middle lane. Miles Bagley trying to get up to the front again with Matt Lee right behind him. They heard a lot of Matt Lee all night tonight. And I'll tell you, one driver trying desperately to get back to the front, and that will be the 59 of the McCullough Motorsports entry, Casey Sprinkle, as there's contact between him and the 27 mid-pack.
Oh, big stack up middle lane as Newson got side drafted there on the entry of turn 3, but somehow they all make it work. Sprinkle actually forced it in line in front of Davenport just a moment ago. It's what you mentioned. Lopez out of line. He's up around Mistretta. Newson turned around a moment ago. 4 wide deep in the field. Nathan Harper in the 4 with Casey Sprinkle. They're going to split Justin Harris out. It's going to go back to 3 wide. Now to go back to 4 as Polima splits Harris into the 3rd lane. Matt Lee trying not to get split as he looks for a move on Miles Bagley. Bagley just a moment ago got to the outside of Alex Coffey and tries to split those Jack Shackle-line race cars to the front. Mistretta goes bottom to top. Lopez not content. He'll go to the middle of the push of Jaden Newson. Mistretta now with a teammate, a couple of them actually behind him in the form of Melikar and Ray, but it's Lopez that has the push through the center with Newson, Coffey, and Tater Seipel. Bottom side still Mozganov and Bounty, and this time they'll get the run. Lopez turned out of line in the Red Bull car. What a save for that machine on the bottom side. He'll lose the track position, but more importantly, Jim Bob, he'll save his race, but now he'll spin. He bounces off a car on the exit of turn 4, and Lopez goes for a spin as we're 4 wide again in the trial. This time Newson hung out with nowhere to go.
Well, I believe you're starting to see now. It is starting to get to be crunch time. 16 laps to go for the first time tonight. Chase Mistretta leads and puts his name on the lap leaderboard. Millicard Ray Bagley rounds out the top 4. Matt Lee's going to look to make it 4 wide. And as a matter of fact, does get put 4 wide as they work down the back straightaway. Elite Ray drops to the bottom, as does Millicard and Mistretta now. Bagley trying to get that 3rd lane rolling. Chase Mistretta up in front of him right now to Jack Shack, trying to control every lane that they can. But right now, the aggression's starting to pick up as Coffey almost, he got lucky with that slide up to the middle lane.
Oh boy, Malik Ray gets turned just a little bit there off 4 as he blinked off the racetrack for a moment. He'll go towards the tail end and slide in right behind Alex Coffey. 3rd on the bottom. No, Mozganov's going to force him 4, and Ray continues to have connection issues. And for Malik Ray, now all of a sudden one of the chess pieces on the board is having problems here with 15 laps to go. We keep it up front. Jack Shack teammates split here off turn 2. Mistretta topside, Melikar in the middle. Bottom now led by Coffey after he got booted out of line just a moment ago. Francis, Lee, Newson through in the middle. Bagley, Harper, Nightmare teammates, 2nd and 3rd topside. So they look for a way around Mistretta. Francis forces Melikar out of line. He'll go to the inside. Matthew Francis to the lead for the first time as Bagley gets the right rear quarter panel of Mistretta and forces him 4 wide in the 3rd lane. Mistretta goes backwards. Melikar going to try to pick him up. A big risk. He'll throw the block across Bagley instead. Bagley turns left and goes 4 wide anyway. And that's going to be disadvantage. Melikar and Bagley and Matt Lee. Contact Newson. Are we going to crash here? Turn 1 we are. Bagley, Harper, Coffey, Melikar, the big one strikes in turn 1. One car flipping into the banking.
Good grief. Bagley, Harper, throwing Melikar in the mix, still flipping in the infield. That would be, soon we get a Tater Seipel. A wild ride for the 29 as the big one strikes, slating to going, throw Garrett Caswell's name on the mix. What in the world? Lord have mercy. Well, Dawson, that was not pretty. And Lord have mercy, will it take a lot of big names out of this one. I'm surprised I ain't seen a meatball yet. But regardless of the fact, there's some guys that'll end their SummerSlam 499 here on Saturday. So you can't see what happened here. All right. Man, that's going to take everybody right to the top 5. And again, desperate times cause for desperate measures as you get a look from the blink cam. It's like the 78. So go forward here. Like the 78 comes up in front of Millicard. Just does barely come up. Don't know if the 29 or Tater Seipel had anything to do with that. But at this point, to be 4 lanes, there's only so much room you can have. There you see Harper and Bagley get connected. Chase Mistretta looks like he'll get a piece of this. Alex Coffey straight up into Millicard. And from there, massive hits from both Alex Coffey and Justin Millicard. Miles Bagley. And there you see, there goes Tater Seipel. Good God almighty. Up on the banking, slams it back down. Malik Ray involved in this as well.
And if you were writing down notes on what you knew about this race or what you thought you knew, take it up, take it, crumple it into a ball, throw it in the trash can, because a lot of the guys that were running in transfer spots or around them in this race are involved and have some major damage here. We'll assess that in a moment. Again, you saw the contact. Melikar and Bagley had both made aggressive four-wide moves, and at different times, Bagley tried to go outside, then he tried to go inside. Melikar was trying to pick up Mastretta in the third lane. Boy, look at this onboard for Tater Seipel. It might end his run. We'll have to check the damage for Tater Seipel on pit road. He's able to drive away. But, obviously for that to be the way your SummerSlam ends, obviously, you never want to be upside down facing the canvas in turns 1 and 2. But for Seipel there, and look at the amount of cars on pit road addressing damage here. Let's give you a full list of the guys down pit road addressing at least some damage. Garrett Caswell, Brennan Lopez, Casey Sprinkle, Justin Melikar, Justin Harris, Matthew Boniface, Miles Bagley, Josh Cruz, Nathan Harper, Malik Ray, Mike Davenport, Brandon Broadfoot, who I think is a car we saw come into that I did not get a chance to mention, Alex Coffey, Jesse Calloway, Jaden Newson, and Tater Seipel. For those keeping track at home, that is 15 cars of the 36 that started this race that are on pit road addressing damage here, and we'll check for any major damage as guys continue to sit and address the damage with their pickers. In fact, watching the field roll down the backstretch here, I hope we get a wide-angle shot because you could tell the field has been completely decimated. Back there, Brandon Lopez is the last car in line that I see right now that is not on pit road in the 20th position. The field has been cut effectively in half by this incident. So, and a lot of the guys we talked about coming into this LCQ, Jim Bob, it was only going to be 8 spots. Nathan Harper, we had on the list of favorites. Malik Ray is the 2-time defending winner. Obviously, again, he's got a provisional to lean on, but he doesn't want to have to use that. He would like to race his way in. He's involved. Davenport, Melikar, Bagley, Coffey. These are big names that were in or around the front of the field that are now in even more of a desperate position than they were in their heat race. Again, several guys experienced problems in their heat race, but they had fast repairs on pit road. They could come and reset both physically and mentally. Tonight, you don't get that opportunity. And some of the hits in this crash, Bagley for sure, Tater Seipel for sure, Newson, Boniface, Broadfoot, a number of cars took big-time hits in this crash. And with only about 13 laps to go, in fact, less than that, it's going to be 12 here at the line as they choose. You're now in complete and total desperation. In fact, multiple cars have gone laps down. Seipel, Newson, Callaway, all laps down. Hicks continues to sit on pit road as he had more damage there as well.
I don't say. A little speechless again. Never thought I'd be saying that after some of the upsets we saw last night. But right now, Justin Melikar, I believe, has called it done for the night. Miles Bagley still on pit road as right now. Dawson's, like I said last night, you're going to see big names heading to the heels. You're going to see underdogs and guys we did not think of potentially race their way into the biggest race of the summer. But we'll say, though we have seen some big names get taken out in this one, they're still on the racetrack. I think back to one Casey Sprinkle, who right now is in 22nd. Does not look like, from my vantage point, a lot of damage to that purple and green Joker look at number 59. Nathan Harper is still in it. Malik Ray still in it, but got third Garrett Caswell up there as well. But some guys we ain't really talked about. One who some would say got a lucky break. Right now sitting about 7 or 8, maybe 9 spots out of the top 8. Dega Pro's own James Warren looking to try to steal it here. So many stories that will come out of just this one, and we still ain't even settled it yet.
4 cars are effectively out of this race. Jaden Newson and Wyatt Hicks have both just taken their cars behind the wall here under this caution. Jesse Callaway got away with what appears to be just some minor damage. He is only 1 lap down. Tater Seipel and Matt Davies still continue to sit on pit road multiple laps down. It appears as if their efforts are over. Everyone else is at least going to stay on the lead lap and attempt on the choose. Quist, Lee, Mozganov, Bennett, Dahmer all take the bottom and gain some track position as the front has completely shuffled here after a big incident has taken a number of major contenders for the moment out of contention. Back to the Simrat Market restart zone. Late race stages begin. Green flag back in the air. Matthew Francis looks up. Nobody that was behind him on the last run is behind him anymore. Now Tulik, Quist, Matt Lee all in line, and an immediate move to the bottom. Mosganov splits Lee to the center. He'll have Dahmer with him. Quist able to cover, but Matt Lee starts to go backwards. Polimas to the center. A top 10 finisher in February is all of a sudden at the front off 2.
3 wide already, guys. Obviously have not learned their lesson about going 3 wide, and right now, who can say they can blame them? 10 laps to go to determine if you go to tomorrow or not. As right now, Francis continues over the outside lane, Quist to the bottom lane. Right now, getting pushed, but, well, was getting pushed. Now 17, he has to lay off, and that is going to completely kill that outside lane. Meanwhile, Matt Lee trying to make something happen. I believe that would be Holland trying to make something happen as well in the middle lane, as right now, Eugene continues to lead, but here comes a run yet again.
Yeah, big run here into the entrance of turn 1. Quist, Bennett get around Mosganov as he tried to make the move. Polimas will opt to push. A pair of EPI branded Ford Mustangs there in the center. Rather, Mosganov and a Chevy, Polimas in a Ford, but both for the EPI group in the middle lane. Francis and Tulik just cannot get this outside lane working. That's where Mistretta had gotten to. He had kind of led the charge of cars involved in the crash, trying to get back to the front, but they just cannot get that line moving. Now they're starting to make something happen up on the outside just a little bit. The bottom and middle continue to be the 2 dominant lanes. Quist will lead back off turn 4. He'll cover back up on Mosganov, but Mosganov goes a lane higher. The EPI entries all of a sudden hyper-aggressive here at the front. Mosganov takes his first trip out front of this race with Polimas in line with him, then Lee and Bounty. Francis starting to get the outside working. Holland on the bottom, you mentioned him just a moment ago. A couple of other cars, Lyubimov, Trippy are both down there as well. And cars out back involved in the crash are starting to make something happen. Sprinkle, Mistretta, Caswell, and others trying to make it happen late with just 8 laps to go.
Elite Ray is trying to work himself back inside the top 10. However, he is stuck in probably the worst place I could say, which is that middle lane about mid-pack, right there in the horse. Oh, the 79 Hornet to the wall. And then they did not save it. Around they go. James wearing around. Casey Sprinkle barely getting through. Maybe not. He'll make contact with the 95. Matthew Boniface involved. Both the 95 drivers, Waring and Boniface, involved in this one. God almighty. And for James Waring, after what was a hell of a run to get to the LCQs, potentially might be night done for the driver to 95. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and there are a couple other cars involved in this one as well. Boniface was one of them. Polimas was the first car that got turned out of line right at the front of the field. Again, as he tried to make a move up, he got what appeared to be maybe an offset push, maybe just a push got the car light, which is something we've talked about a lot all week as well. He gets turned out of line. He tried everything he could to make the save, but it just was not going to happen for the 79. Again, a guy we just mentioned would run so well in February, now has what appears to be some damage on that 79. Boniface's car has some major damage for him. You mentioned Waring. Sprinkle made some contact with this as well. This is kind of after it got kicked off. We're going to go up front again. So watch Barrett Polimas. He's the red and black 79 with EPI on the race car. He gets hooked just a little bit at the front of the field and tried to make the save, but ends up going right. Everybody makes this work. The third lane's able to work down, but the further back you go, the less you're able to see at the front of the field, and I think that's the problem for Waring and a couple of others here. Trying to figure out, there's another car that's involved in this up against the outside wall. I can't quite tell who exactly that was towards the tail end of the field. There is at least one other car involved in this there up against the outside retaining wall. But, you know, as those cars get on the scene, they can't quite see where Polimas has hit the wall. The first few guys in line, they have the luxury of being able to see to the right side of the car in front of them and see that Polimas is in the wall. The cars behind them not able to see that. And as they get on scene, there's just not much you can do as a driver. If you're not committed to moving down, if you can't see that and prepare for it, there's just not much you can do. And some big hits in this one. Justin Harris, man, that's narrowly avoiding. Same for Davenport, same for Coffee, as they both, all three, get by. But for the 5 cars involved, another setback. This one very, very late in the going.
And I mentioned late in the going, this will probably be it for them guys, as they will not have a lot of time to get to the front. I will say, we go back to the contact that was made. I mean, it may be very faint contact, but nonetheless, this is the point of the race. You ain't lifting. I don't care if it's an LCQ race or a heat race or any other race going on Monday through Friday. Right now, you're not lifting at this point. You're getting everything you can. The time for lifting is over with. I mean, now these guys, they're going to let it all hang out. We've already seen it earlier on, but now, this is the point now. Crap's going to hit the fan for a lot of guys. And whoever, I will say, you know what? I'm going to lay you down an ace here, Dawson. I believe if I was a gambling man, you will see some guys, if they can survive these final few laps, they will have a shot to get in, or they will get into tomorrow night, because you hear the one thing, the one word around money racing entirely, and that is you've got to have luck on your side. And right now, we're about to see who has luck and who don't, because it is about to get even more turned up from here.
Well, absolutely. And, you know, you'll hear guys talk about that a little bit, and different drivers kind of had different views on this. But, you know, primarily of the guys that race super speedway a lot, there's obviously the skill aspect as well, to put yourself in position to get into, to get into one of these races, to get in position to win. But also, there is luck involved. You have to be around crashes, but be able to miss crashes, and sometimes racing can be very unforgiving. Let's get a quick word with one of the drivers as we get ready to go back green, as we get ready to choose as well what could be the last restart of the night. The last driver in a transfer spot pre-choose is 17 of Peyton Tulloch. Peyton, it's the boys in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you. What's up, guys?
We won't keep you too long. Obviously, know we're about to go one to go and go back green, and it's a high-stakes race. But to this point, you've gotten a heat race under your belt. You've now got 27 laps of this race under your belt. This package, this setup has been wildly racy all week. What's it been looking like from your perspective on board that 17?
Action galore. I mean, I really like this package because it's been extremely racy, like you boys just said. So it's been back racing, tight racing. It's been a lot of fun. I'm really grateful and thankful to be a part of this. Hoping to make the boys proud next car. Got them on the hood, and we've got a shot. So that's all you could ask for.
Well, obviously, inside of 8 laps to go now, it's crunch time. You're going to be in a transfer spot, choosing the bottom here on this restart. You know, we've seen that kind of play out both ways. If the car on the inside gets a good start, it can work. If the car doesn't, it can put you in a bit of a compromising spot. What's the game plan here for you on a late race restart to try to advance into tomorrow's feature?
Yeah, just bottom at the end of the day. Like, if you got guys behind you that are willing to push, I mean, they got to be committed to you. They got nowhere else to go. So hoping the guys on this restart can have a good restart. We can get up, we can kind of roll the bottom. I mean, that's how we got up here, was rolling the bottom before that big wreck. So, hey, we're going to push the pedal of the metal, and you're going to lift till we see God or the checkered flag. So hopefully we survive this thing.
Peyton, we'll let you get back to work, obviously, with a half a lap until the green flag. We'll let you focus up and work with your team as well. Good luck the rest of the way, and we'll see if we're seeing you at the end of this thing racing tomorrow for 499 miles.
Hey, praying for it. Thank you guys so much.
Peyton Tulloch, driver of the 17, and you almost heard the smile on his face there, Jim Bob. Real quick before we go back green, was I hearing things? It almost sounds like it was more kind of amped, more giddy of a feeling for Tulloch, where most guys may be feeling nervous right now. It feels like he's excited. He's ready to go. What a unique perspective that is in this kind of high-stakes race.
He just likes living on the edge, from what I can tell. He likes living a lot closer to that danger zone than I do. But he will actually gain 2 spots off of the choose cone up to 6, so a little bit of a cushion. As Matt Mazganov and Kurt Quist will be bringing us down to the SWM restart zone. Dawson, buckle up and hang on. This is just the first. We still got another one to go. The field in the restart zone. 4 laps to go to settle it.
And strap down the TV set if you're watching at home, because this one is going to get even wilder than it's already been. A monster restart for Eugene Mozganov. He's away by 3 car lengths. Anywhere but Talladega, that would be a great start. The problem is the draft is the great equalizer, and it's going to bring this traffic to him in a hurry. Out back, 3 wide moves already. Bounty out of line. Tulloch out of line. We just talked to him a second ago. He's going to go to the push of Mozganov. Francis to the center. Holland to the center. Dahmer to the center. Jack Shack cars topside. Matt Lee leads that line. There'll be the push first for Tulloch here down the back straightaway. Inside is Quist, and then the 12 of Max DiFilippi. First time we shouted his name, and then Garrett Caswell, a dual winner from February, comes through on the inside as well. When they get back, 3 laps to go. Caswell clear, Holland across the nose of Francis as Moskanov goes backwards. Who's the first move? I think it'll be Caswell, and it is. The GTCR Toyota to the center. He's got Holland or Peacock with him. That's 4 wide out back with Francis.
Justin Millicar, a hell of a save, but they're going to get bunched up entering turn number 1. Almost 5 wide at one point. Millicar saves it as they work through the middle of turns 1 and 2. Caswell trying to take the lead away for the first time tonight. And by God, Garrett Caswell, who was involved in a wreck at one point in this race, back into running it right now, trying to race his way into a SummerSlam 499 appearance. Right now, it's a who's who to make that top 8. Mastrada out, Davenport out. As they come off of turn number 4, Madanov right back to the top spot again. Driver down, throwing the haymaker. There goes Casey Sprinkle and others around. Caution is out. We're going to go to overtime here in LCQ number 1 as they have wanted them up big. Harper involved, Callaway involved, Kurt Quist to the grass, Broadfoot, Sprinkle, Bundy involved in this, Dawson, even more big names. And for some, this will effectively derail their hopes for good.
That's going to send us into overtime indeed. And again, some of the names involved in this one, Justin Mellicard just gotten that car fixed and made a big save, and he's involved. I think the damage a little more minor on his car, but major damage to Nathan Harper in car number 4, amongst others that were towards the tail end of this lead pack. Kurt Quist had just gotten turned, by the way, on the inside right before this happened. Broadfoot's got major damage in this as well. It gets sparked up towards the front. There's a stack up with Junsa Lim. That's the 79, about 4 rows up from where this one's going to get started. In the stack up on the bottom, when Quist and that Lim stack up happens, Sprinkle gets knocked out of line, and several cars involved here. Broadfoot gets turned. Nowhere to go for him. Jesse Callaway, Sean Boundy, Nathan Harper, Matt Francis, I think, is going to get in this as well. Yep, indeed, he hits the Broadfoot machine in the grass. Big hit for Nathan Harper. That car came off the ground. What appears to me to be severe, potentially race-ending damage to that driver for Nightmare Esports. Casey Sprinkle, we talked a lot about him coming into tonight. A big incident for him here in the Trial. And the double stack-ups there. Quist got turned, it stacked up the bottom. Junsa Lim got offset pushed, and that stacked up the middle. And drivers trying to get to where they could take runs, trying to take the real estate, trying not to run over the car in front of them. The further back that stack-up goes, Jim Bob, the worse it gets. And by the time it gets to the back of the field, there's just not much you can do as a driver there. Big damage on some major contenders.
Well, and of course you mentioned, and really all it's going to do is just going to boil down to, you know, the guys who are, you know, second, third on that bottom lane, they can see it happening. They get the message a lot quicker. Almost like whenever you get your mail, you know, your neighbor up the road, he'll get the mail before you do. And that's that kind of situation. And the messages cannot reach the back half of that field before calamity strikes. And again, like a tornado in a trailer park, a lot of big names, big contenders, dark horses, favorites alike are effectively done. You mentioned Nathan Harper involved in this. Casey Sprinkle, ain't no telling how much damage on that 59 machine on top of what he's already had all night tonight. And if this is just going to be, if this is what we see in LCQ2, I'm going to say, I don't think we can put our names. I don't think we can really say one of these big names is going to make the field, because now, I mean, look at the top 10 guys who you would not expect to be up there. Now up there, Davenport, he has a good chance right now. Bagley, Malik Ray, Chase Mastrud on the outside looking in. Right now, at this point, I don't know who to really choose and who makes it or who's not. But when you come to a place like Talladega, that's kind of be expected.
Well, we'll get ready to choose. Let's preface again the overtime rules for you, because they are different if you're just joining us than what you might expect. In the LCQs, we'll follow the heat format. Only one green-white checkered attempt here. So what that means is the caution is not going to be thrown. It's not going to be a situation where the field is frozen and we're going back to a timing loop to look at where the field is at the moment that the caution comes out. The caution is going to be held here, and the race is allowed to finish under green no matter what happens between the green flag and the white flag. After that, again, all bets are off pending post-race review. Of course, race control is going to take a look at some things after the race if need be and provide any discipline needed. Throughout this week, we've seen drivers be disciplined for actions. Ilya Nikitin was disqualified earlier in the week for a last lap incident. PGR 500 champion Wyatt Gray was disqualified in his heat race for an incident. So we've seen drivers be subject to that discipline. That's going to come after the race, and we will try to give you official word if it comes to us before we get ready for last chance qualifier number 2. Again, if you're just joining us, we are using the choose cone. It's the middle A in Talladega. You see the word mark there on the speedway. You see drivers going one way or the other. If you run over the box, as one car, it appears, just did, it was awfully close. I think it might have been Lyubimov that just ran over the choose cone there on the front stretch. You have to choose by the line, go inside or outside. That will be used for every restart throughout this week. To reset the field for you, again, the top 8 finishers advance to tomorrow's SummerSlam 499. Everyone else goes home. It's real simple. You finish 9th or worse, your journey's over. You've got to get into the top 8. Eugene Mozganov's the leader. He chose the outside. Garrett Caswell's going to line up second alongside him. Row 2 is going to be Taylor Peacock and Zach Dahmer. Peyton Holland and Max DiFilippi will line up on row 3 with Peyton Tulloch and Matt Lee on row 4. That's the top 8 cars on the racetrack right now as they are scored. In fact, it's actually going to be a little bit different than that. Looks like Mike Davenport is actually running 7th. So it'll be Davenport 7th, Tulloch 8th. Lee and Ray will be on row 5. Some drivers out looking in. Davenport in 9th, Malik Ray in 11th, Miles Bagley in 12th, Chase Mastretta in 15th, Alex Coffey in 17th. Amongst others, Lyubimov ran well in his heat race. He's 18th. Of course, Melikar Sprinkle involved in that incident. James Waring's been involved in an incident. Nathan Harper has been involved in a couple of incidents tonight. Barrett Polemus as well. A couple cars behind the wall, Al Baberin, Thomas Bennett, and what appears to be Brandon Broadfoot. His hopes are over as well as he continues to sit on pit road. 29 cars have a chance. Only 8 advance to tomorrow. Everyone else goes home, again, barring drivers that may be in the last chance provisional race later on. We'll tell you about that as the night continues onward. This is it. One restart, make or break. You've got to be in the top 8 to race tomorrow. It is desperation time for drivers 9th on back. Who gets in? Who goes home? Green, white checker time at Talladega. Green flag through the Simrat Market restart zone. Mozganov, another huge jump. This time, 2 car lanes clear of Dahmer. He'll pull Dahmer clear. Holland pushing, Tulloch pushing. And from there, it's where does the move come? It's Malik Ray on the inside as he'll push DiFilippi back to turn 1.
Right now, Mazanov, what a hell of a restart again. This time, nobody. Dahmer's not going to force him through, trying to force the issue. They're going to stay to the outside lane. 3 wide. Caswell stuck in the middle right now, outside of a transfer spot. Chase Mastretta swapping it back and forth with his teammate. Matthew Lee as they enter turn number 3. Here comes the number 12 to the bottom lane. Malik Ray. Oh, almost got hit for his toes. They're trying to wreck again. As right now come up for turn 4. 3 by 3 by 3 to wreck it out back. Coffee around. He'll take a half the field with him. As right now, white flag this time. Mazanov will bring him down to the white flag. Dawson, she's all yours, buddy.
Alex Coffey was involved in that one, and so was Justin Melikar. Both of those cars eliminated effectively, but it's still all to race for on the final lap. Mozganov down to the middle, trouble. DiFilippi gets turned out back of the leaders. He's going to spin as well. It's back to Josh Cruz for the top 8 spots. Cruz, the last car in line, 14th, maybe a couple that still have the draft. Mozganov blocks, but it's the 2-time defending winner that goes to the lead of LCQ1 on the outside on the push from Matt Lee. Back to turn 3 for the final time. Ray and Lee in line. Mozganov, Caswell on the bottom, jockeying. Mastretta under the yellow line, gets into the 81 of Peacock off turn 4 for the final time. Ray blocked Mozganov to the bottom, back to the tri-oval. Does Mozganov make a move for the win? He'll stay in line for now. To the outside, to the inside. Photo finish as they wreck behind the leaders. At the line, Malik Ray in a 3-wide photo finish takes LCQ number 1.
Miles Bagley's in. Unofficially at the moment, Miles Bagley finishes 8th as, well, most of the time I say I don't believe it, but honestly with Malik Ray, no surprise, he will officially lock in his spot into the SummerSlam in Dawson. That right there tells you the three-peat is very well much alive for the Junior Motorsports driver.
Very much alive for the driver for Junior Motorsports in the Coca-Cola iRacing Series. He will not have to lean on the champion's provisional. It's going to provide a bit of a wrinkle for the race tomorrow that we'll tell you about later on in the night. But for Malik Ray, his first checkered flag of the week. He's hoping it is the first of two. He's got 2 championship belts already. He knows how to get the job done in these marquee events. And he gets it done here in LCQ number 1. And some storylines out back to talk about in just a moment for guys that did not make it. But for now, it is Malik Ray that gets the job done. He'll do the burnouts here on the front straightaway. I'll have Matt Lee with him again. We've said this a couple of times this week, Jim Bob. These Jack Shack cars came to play this week. They came prepared. The execution was there again for both of those cars. As Ray and Lee will do dual burnouts here on the start-finish line.
Oh, and of course, you got to say, strength in numbers, and they have brought the numbers this week for this very event, if I can get it out right. And while we got a moment here, Malik Ray, Garrett Jenkins, Dawson Wise up in the broadcast booth. Got a copy, buddy?
Yes, sir. How you doing, man?
Well, it's about the 3rd time we've talked to you in a span of a week here at Talladega. I got to say, where in the world do you keep coming from in these late going in these races?
I just try to just hold it together at the end. I think it helps me a lot because like I'm already, I'm locked into the main. So like, I don't really be caring what happens at the end, but I mean, at the same time, like, like I'm still like aware of like what's, going on around me and whatnot.
Well, I got to say, did you expect the intensity to ramp up like it did in this first LCQ? Obviously, you would be the first one to get a taste of this as LCQ number 2 still to come tonight. Was this to be expected? Is there anything you can take out of this aggression to put towards tomorrow night where all bets are off, everybody's gunning to stop the three-peat? Quite frankly, still going to be a tall order to do so, but can you take anything out of these LCQs and really out of the heats last night to put forward tonight?
Not really, man. I try to do these races the same. I just try to keep my nose clean and then just show up at the end. Whether it's the LCQ or the top 24 races, it's not going to make a difference to me. I race the same all the time.
Dawson?
Malik, obviously the 2-time defending winner of this race, and you've won a lot in your PGR career, and you've made a lot of history, but 3 straight marquee events, I talked about at the beginning of the week, would be a record that would probably be untouched for a long time. It's hard to win these events. It's hard to get into these events as is. To win 3 of them in a row, has it set in yet what that would mean to you if you're able to get the job done tomorrow afternoon?
No, not necessarily. I still think everybody's gonna have the same opinion after me afterwards. I mean, obviously, I'm going for it. I hope I can get it. But if not, I mean, if one of my teammates can get it, then I'll be more than happy to help them as well.
Well, teamwork is the name of the game. And speaking of that, here as we get ready to prepare for LCQ number 2, I do want to give you an opportunity on the way out. Are there any thank yous or shout outs you'd like to give here from LCQ 1 Victory Lane?
Logitech, JR Motorsports, obviously Fort Worth Screen Printing, and PGR eSports, and Intent Solutions, and Matthew T. Lee for the huge help that he was giving me. Because if it wasn't for him, I think me and him made a move down the back straightaway where we both popped middle. If I didn't have him behind me, then I probably wouldn't have ended up where I was. So I just want to say a shout out to him too. So thank you guys.
Malik, thanks for the time. Congratulations on the win here at LCQ number 1. Go enjoy it. Go celebrate. We'll talk to you tomorrow for 499 miles.
All right. Thank you, man.
Malik Ray, winner of LCQ number 1, and will not have to lean on that provisional for tomorrow's race. As being a defending champion, he races in the hard way, if you will, by getting in through LCQ number 1. He goes ahead of his teammate Matt Lee. Of course, those 2 cars worked well together late in this race. They'll both advance. So too will Eugene Mozganov. An impressive run late for the driver for EPI. He will advance to tomorrow as well, make his debut in a PGR Crown Jewel event. Zach Dahmer goes in fourth. I believe it'll be his second marquee start. He made a start either back in February or maybe last August in the SummerSlam. He'll go fourth. Peyton Holland in fifth. I believe it'll be his debut in one of these. Garrett Caswell makes his second straight, actually third straight marquee event start. Started last year's SummerSlam 499, started this February's PGR 500. Now will start again in August here for Caswell. Continues to be impressive in these marquee events. Peyton Tulloch in the seventh spot. We talked to him a moment ago, Jim Bob, and he is in as well. A great run there for the driver of the 17 as his week continues. And so too will Miles Bagley. A bit of a troubled night at times as he got involved in a couple of incidents. He never let it affect him very much. He's in the 8th position for Nightmare Esports. June Salim's the unfortunate first driver out of this one. Matt Francis goes 10th. Josh Cruz goes in 11th with Chase Mastretta eliminated in the 12th spot. Justin Harris finishes 13th with Brandon Lopez in 14th. Max DiFilippi goes in the 15th spot with Casey Sprinkle back in 16th. A tough break for Sprinkle there, a driver who was so impressive in his heat race. He is eliminated. Same can be said for James Waring in 17th and Barrett Polimas in 18th. All three going home tonight. Anthony Trippi led laps in his heat race, eliminated tonight in LCQ1 in 19th. So too is Sean Boundy in 20th. So the bad luck continues in these marquee events for Boundy in the 34. Nathan Harper, a bombshell here in LCQ number 1. As he's eliminated, Matthew Boniface goes 21st. Mike Davenport will have an opportunity later in the night racing in the last chance provisional race. He is one of the drivers that we know for sure will be in that field after being eliminated here in this one. Jesse Calloway goes behind him in 24th. Alex Coffey has been eliminated in 25th. Taylor Peacock in 26th. Kirk Quist in 27th. And Justin Melikar in 28th position. Nikita Lyubimov, impressive in his heat, impressive in this LCQ. But got involved in a late incident, got turned off the racetrack, and goes 29th. And Brandon Broadfoot goes in 30th. Then cars that retired earlier in this race due to incidents: Al Baberin, Thomas Bennett, Jaden Newson, Tater Seipel, Wyatt Hicks, and Matt Davies all see their runs come to an end before the checkered flag flew. Well, as we start to get ready for LCQ number 2, Jim Bob, the bombshells, the moments, the big names involved in crashes, the drivers set up for this next last chance qualifier. I talk about nerves a lot. I talk about the stomachs getting ready to get in these race cars and go to battle to try to get the top 8 spots. You know, if you're a driver in LCQ2, you just watched Justin Melikar and Nathan Harper and Chase Mastretta and Casey Sprinkle and Barrett Polimas and countless other drivers fail to make this event. And now as you're getting ready to strap in the race car, what is going through your mind if you're a driver in LCQ number 2?
Oh, if it was me, and I'm going to be flat out honest with you, if it was me, I would be a nervous wreck all the way up to the green flag drops. But that's what tends to happen. The nerves are there. The nerves will be all the way up until they enter the restart zone for the very first lap. At that point, the visors go down, the drivers lock in, and them nerves go away to the point to now where all you have to do, the only thing you're worried about is making the top 8. You ain't worried about the rent being due tomorrow. You ain't worried about nothing else. You make the top 8, you race for a belt, $2,000, and arguably put your name in the money racing history books. But these guys in Heat 2, though I say whenever they fasten down the straps and they get ready to go, the nerves will still be there, but you're going to find out the ones who are able to put the nerves out of the way, not panic when they get put 3 and 4 wide and drop out of the top 8, maybe the top 10. It is the ones who, like I go back to Alex Hill on Thursday. I go back to Chase Mastretta, who unfortunately will be done for tonight and done for the SummerSlam. But his drive last night, just all these guys, you're about to see who can rise to the top just to make the biggest race of the summer. I can't wait.
I can't wait either, Jim Bob. It's going to be a good one after this last chance qualifier. I'll tell you what, this second one is set to deliver as well. More of the biggest names of the event are lined up for LCQ number 2. Again, a full night of racing ahead. We're about 15 minutes away from going live, maybe a little bit longer for LCQ number 2. And we'll get you set up for the next 35 lapper that will set the final 8 spots on the grid, or at least send the final 8 drivers to the grid of that one here in just a few moments. Of course, the top 24 shootout and last chance provisional race are still to come. We'll tell you more about those over the next couple of hours in this last chance qualifier number 2 as well. We're set to take a short break before we go again, about 15 to 20 minutes, and we'll be going back live here from Talladega to get you ready for LCQ number 2. Before we do, I want to first thank those supporting not only the event, but also these LCQs. For the event as a whole, that towing company and Chris Carter Racing and the Flying Aces, you're going to see both of their drivers in LCQ2, both Chris Blanchard and Chris Carter, set to go to battle to try to make their spot in the SummerSlam 499. For this LCQ period, both LCQ 1 and 2, I want to thank Junior Motorsports and Loudhorn for their support of the PGR SummerSlam 499 and PGR eSports. You'll see one of their drivers, Wyatt Miller, coming up here in LCQ number 2. Of course, Malik Ray, able to get the job done here in LCQ number 1. As we get ready to head out, I want to thank my broadcast team as well. As we get ready to head out and get ready, they'll be back here for in just a few moments for LCQ number 2. Of course, my co-host was Jim Bob Garrett Jenkins. He'll be joining me again for the rest of the night. Our producer was Michael Triscaro. And thank you all so much for watching. But don't go anywhere. Don't turn the TV. Don't turn the channel. We're coming back for LCQ number 2 right after this short break. Stay with us on PGR Esports. We'll be back to set the final 8 spots in the SummerSlam after this. Welcome back to the virtual Talladega Super Speedway as the second of two last chance qualifiers gets on track. The final race to set the 40 men that will contest tomorrow afternoon's biggest sim racing event of the summer coming up now in just a few moments. Again, you are watching PGR eSports. My name is Dawson Wiseman, your play-by-play voice throughout the week, and we'll carry the call here through LCQ number 2. Again, as we set the final 8 spots on the grid for tomorrow. Of course, a couple of other wrinkles to be organized later with the last chance provisional race, and of course, maybe an additional wrinkle with a provisional not being used for the LCQ1 winner in Malik Ray. But nonetheless, we arrive at the final formal qualifying race in the process leading up to tomorrow's feature. I want to thank our sponsors, all that support PGR eSports and this event, both CCR, the Flying Aces, and that towing company. Both of their drivers are in this race in the form of Chris Carter for CCR and Chris Blanchard for that towing company as we get ready to go here. Also want to thank Junior Motorsports and Loudhorn for their sponsorship here of the last chance qualifiers. They'll have a driver in this race as well in the form of Wyatt Miller, maybe later on as well. So I want to thank them for their support as we welcome you into LCQ number 2. Just over a minute until we hit the grid. Going to have to switch something here on the production end. So as we get to the last 60 seconds before the grid, we'll go to a quick side-by-side break. You're not going to miss a thing. We'll be right back from the Talladega Super Speedway to put you on the grid and meet the starters for last chance qualifier number 2. We'll be right back. And now we welcome you back to the Talladega Super Speedway. Quick little technical change made there on the producing end. And as such, it's time to get ready for LCQ number 2. Again, the final 8 spots on tomorrow's grid in the formal qualification process are set to be decided in this second last chance qualifier. Not a lot of time before these drivers get off the grid and rolling, so let's meet the 37 starters. We'll tell you why in just a moment, that will contest last chance qualifier number 2. Thomas Komacheski for the Team Watson Racing Setups and Beast Mode Performance Group was an impressive member of his heat race yesterday, or rather the other day. He will start from pole position, by virtue of his finish towards the front of his heat race. He'll go from the inside of row 1 to his outside. One of the drivers for McCullough Motorsports, the 05 of Josh McCullough, will start from position number 2. Row 2, we'll see the Jack Shacks Jeff Merck, the all-black, gray, and gold number 60. He'll start from 3rd alongside the professional driver for RFK Racing in the Coca-Cola iRacing Series and former PGR Series champion Dylan Basin, who will start from the outside in position number 4. On row 3, another Jack Shack entry in the form of Evan Carlbon will go from position number 5, and alongside him, the red, white, and blue prime Ford Mustang of Freddie Bassinis will start from position number 6, looking to make back-to-back SummerSlams. Row 4, Devin Ray, running under the Nightmare banner this week, will start from P7 in a brand new orange and black Simrat Market number 2, and alongside him, a dominant driver from February, and a driver who impressed in his heat race again last night. The big events never phase Stephen Miles, and he'll start from position number 8. Running at the top 10, it's driver for Team PGR and VRX, Brian Henning, so we'll start from P9, alongside another one of the McCullough Motorsports Chevys, the all-white and green 04 of Chris McCullough, starts from P10. Back on row 6, Daniel Nanny will start from the inside of the row in 11th. Alongside him, Isaac Treese, a pair of underdog stories from their heat races, will go from row number 6. Back on row 7 into the 13th starting spot, one of PGR's regulars and another Team PGR car in Brock Westmoreland carrying Train aboard that number 4. Alongside him, another Super Speedway regular, Aubrey Thompson, the white and gold 56, starts from 14th. Back on row 8, it's another professional driver in the form of Matthew Zwack. He's made a couple of starts in these marquee events, has not yet gone to victory lane. He's been close and looking to go to another one here from 15th. Outside of him, another Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver and Super Speedway ace, Logan Helton, starts from 16th. It's the Jack Shack's Landon Veliky that will go from the inside of row 9 in his brand new 62 machine, alongside one of the presenting sponsors for the event, Chris Carter for CCR and the Flying Aces. He'll start from 18th. And on row 10, it's the DraftKings Toyota Camry of DJ Thomas that will roll from position 19. Alongside him, the black and blue number 2 of Dawson Barker. Back on row 11, in the 21st spot will be Nightmare eSports driver Hunter Hastings, one of the stories of the Light Series this past season. And one of the drivers we saw in the ERA process, Michael Sturgill Jr., starts from 22nd, the outside of row 11. Row 12, the Valvoline Chevrolet, David Giusti makes an appearance after a late race run into the transfer spots in 23rd. Keith Haley, new colors for him, black and white, with Napa aboard that Chevrolet in 24th. Row 13, Austin Petrie Adger led laps in the heat race, was very impressive in his PGR debut. He'll start from 25th. Alongside one of the drivers for EPI and another driver in the Coca-Cola iRacing Series, Caden Diedrich, who starts from P26. Back on row number 14, it's going to be Aaron Smith in the all-yellow number 70. Alongside him, another Light Series driver in Asher Little, also one of the Nightmare banner. He'll start from 28th after a shocking last lap run in his heat race last night. Michael Barksdale will start from 29th with a Big Red Chevrolet, and Austin Call attempts to make his second straight marquee event. He'll start from 30th. Row 16, Andrew Zanto in the red 06, the fire engine, starts from 31st. And alongside him, it'll be the Dega Pros driver, Matt Patton, in the red, white, and blue, number 3, starting from 32nd. Row 17, Trey Whitehead again carries black and pink aboard that Toyota this time around from 33rd. Trying to start his second straight marquee event. Same for Craig Jancic, lining up alongside him in 34th. Row 18, Harrison Santos, the black and blue 28, will start from 35th, alongside Chris Blanchard for that towing company. Black and red new colors for him today in 36, trying to race his way in after that provisional. And it is only 36. Looked like we would have 37. One driver appears to have not made the field in this event leading up to LCQ number 2. So again, that is the wrinkle. Chris Blanchard using an LCQ provisional to give himself second life in this event. He will have to start shotgun on the field, but certainly, as we get ready to go, a lifeline for Blanchard, an opportunity nonetheless. No matter how you get it, you have a chance now to race in the SummerSlam 499. We'll remind you of the format. Of course, I'll be joined in just a moment by my co-host in Jim Bob, Garrett Jenkins. Just a second, we'll bring him in as the action gets started. But let's remind you of the format first. 35 laps in length, 100% fuel, no fast repairs. The fast repair from the heats is gone. You have to make this car last, and in the last LCQ race, we saw that bite a number of the big contenders, including Nathan Harper, amongst others, that are eliminated after last chance qualifier number 1. Too much damage aboard the race car can prove to be a fatal end to your night and your hopes in the biggest sim racing event of the summer. The top 8 finishers out of 36 cars will take the final 8 spots on the grid. Again, the final 8 qualified spots on the grid tomorrow. Of course, a couple of provisionals still to be given out throughout the course of the night. We'll see how that goes as we get later into the evening. But 8 drivers here will advance into the SummerSlam 499. Everyone else sees their journey end right here to the Simrat Market Restart Zone. The second of 2 LCQs is underway. Green flag again from Talladega. Trouble in the back. Austin calls around in the 118. Craig Chancik's involved as well, and the caution's going to come out on the backstretch on the opening lap of LCQ number 2 as drivers try to bully their way out of line and get to the front. Multiple cars involved in this one. Petri Adger comes to a stop on the apron as well. It's a 4-car crash on the opening lap of LCQ number 2.
Well, merely identical to what we saw in the first LCQ wreck very early. We're going to see if we can't find what in the world causes the issue here, as right now, for some, this will be a devastating blow, and potentially an end. You mentioned Austin Call trying to return to another marquee event. It does not appear to be the case as we look here. Okay, that is bizarre. Now, I ain't gonna lie, Austin just gets slammed, but I mean, take another look at it here. Yeah, it's almost, dare I say a netcode type of deal. But there's a stack up, and then that 118 of Austin Call, I mean, it turns just a dead left. And unfortunately, that'll more likely end the night for some. They see, well, I feel like now it's more of a netcode because that green car right there, but Craig Jack sees that almost looked like a netcode in its own right. So Dawson, what do you think looking at that? Could one little netcode already spilled in for some of these drivers?
It could have been part of it. I think the left rear quarter panel has been a tough deal with this next-gen car over the last few weeks, but I think it's also partly there's a stack-up in front of Austin Call right here, and he is so far to the left that it almost, when the stack-up happens, it doesn't just shoot him backwards. Typically, the cars that are squared up shoot straight backwards when they get a hit off the car in front of them. He's off to the left on the left rear quarter panel, and when the stack-up happens, it actually just kicks him to the left and into the Petri Adger machine. Trey Whitehead, Craig Jancic, the other cars involved towards the back for Petri Adger. I think you're right, Jim Bob. I think this is a race ender for him. Half a lap into LCQ number 2, and he continues to sit on pit road again. And you said it right there. He barely even got started, and his night appears at least to be behind the 8 ball. Now, he is sitting on pit road attempting to fix that car, but it does appear to be pretty major damage for Petri Adger as he tries to fix that race car. He started deep in the field and just got caught in something that was not his doing. And for Austin Call, there a tough break. But we've seen the stack-ups happen all week long to this point. They've been worse and worse as the week has gone on. And right there for Call, it just shot him directly to the left. What a weird look indeed. And for several guys, I talked about nerves, the early caution in LCQ number 1. I mean, for several guys now, the nerves are even worse in this one. We only got half a lap. We didn't even get all the way up to speed in this race. A rule change this week if you're just joining us here for LCQ number 2. We've used this throughout the heats now for the LCQs as well. This will continue on through tomorrow's feature as well. The choose cone is in effect throughout this week, similar to what you'd see in a NASCAR National Series race Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Well, we're using it again here this week for the SummerSlam 499. Its PGR debut in a marquee event anyway is this week. And you may be asking, well, there's no choose cone marker. How are we going to determine what it is? It's that arbitrary marking, the A in the word mark Talladega. You see the middle one there in the graphic on your screen. Drivers have to go one way or the other of that A by the time we get back around to the start-finish line. If a driver drives over top of the A, even just clips it just a little, it is an end-of-line penalty. I don't think we saw quite as many in LCQ number 1, at least not any that I was informed about. So I think drivers have kind of picked this up a little bit, Jim Bob, in terms of understanding the rule, not wanting to drive over the box. I think now the comfort level with the rule is starting to kick in. But, I mean, we saw several drivers, and these included regulars. I mean, Josh McCulley got this penalty last night. Jacob Dunn, who's raced a couple of PGR events at this point, got this penalty the other night. These are regulars. These are guys that race every week that were struggling a little bit earlier in the week with this rule. But, again, I think those penalties will continue to lessen as the weekend goes on.
But particularly tomorrow, I mean, obviously Josh McCulley, the leader now, as he's actually going to be coming down to make his decision. But though we have not seen a lot of penalties out of this choose cone today, hardly any, as a matter of fact, it can still rear its ugly head. That's the worst part about it. But for guys now, Austin Call back out onto the racetrack, so his chance is still alive, barely. I got to say, this right here, you hit the nail hit the nail on the head on one thing. The nerves just might be slightly ramped up this time because we only got a lap and a half. We didn't even got a half a lap in. And everybody ready to go. And just like you see in a normal NASCAR event under a red flag, drivers get antsy. The same can be said with a caution, not even a half a lap to a lap into an event. You guys are getting antsy. They're ready to go. They were ready to shake off whatever nerves they have. And, of course, this caution lap here does not help that at all. But a lot of big names in this field, unfortunately, a few of them big names will be going home tonight. The question is, Dawson, is who will they be? Because there's a lot of Jack Shacks in here.
Well, we kind of saw this field shape up last night in our final 3 heat races, and we got to digest all of the names that are in this field. Again, we talked about Heat 7 as probably being the toughest heat of the week in terms of the field in it. This second LCQ race is even tougher than that because of just how the heats lined up, how heats 5 through 8 lined up with the drivers in them. A lot of talent ends up stacked in this second last chance qualifier. The first one was very good, don't get me wrong. There was a ton of talent in that race. This race, I mean, you look down the list, it is, a dozen to 20 big-time names, whether it's regulars, whether it's pro drivers, whether it's, super speedway aces that we don't see in PGR a lot, like a guy like Logan Helton. There is a number of those big names that ended up in this race, and it provides for some serious entertainment, but also some serious stakes, as many of those guys will not advance into tomorrow. McCullough leads the field. He's the control car. Komacheski, Bassinez, Miles, Ray all took the inside on the restart. The Simrat Market restart zone for the first time. Green flag back in the air. McCullough off and running. Basin with him. Then Merck, then Carlbahn. Bottom is more connected, but as has been the story all week long, the top lane, when it gets a better restart, tends to draw some cars up there. It'll draw Stephen Miles here up the banking of 1 as the bottom tries to get going, but cars have bailed behind them.
Now McCullough will lead them off for turn number 2. Basin, Merck, Carlbahn, the top 4. Stephen Miles trying to break into that top 5 as the field works down the back straightaway. Couple 3-wide action already taking place. Here comes Jeff Merck to the outside lane. Merck wants to lead here at Talladega, and just like that, 3 wide right to start with. Here comes Christopher McCullough in the mix. As right now, during the middle of turns 3 and 4, 3 by 3 by 3, as they come off of 4 right now. Third lane trying to get that run back going. They got it for a moment as they'll come down and really is, I lost my train of thought there for a second, but right now Thomas will lead them in turn number 1. Got McCullough and Jeff Merck to his outside.
And a work off turn number 2. McCullough with a push to the center from Dylan Basin, and McCullough's going to go back up to the help of Jeff Merck here down the Alabama Gang super stretch, as now the drivers can kind of kick the nerves to the curb, at least for the time being. Now the mission is clear, and you get into race mode, and the adrenaline takes over. McCullough to the lead, Merck to second, Carlbahn to third, Miles to fourth. That's Stephen Miles that made one of the first 3 wide moves out back. Nanny, Westmoreland, Veliky lead up the outside charge now off turn 4 as the top 4 cars came down to side draft. They're going to tow Logan Helton along. Brian Hennings will come with them. And there's the move again. Jack Shack cars aggressive once again. Merck and Carlbahn second. 2 wide move to the outside of McCullough. Helton goes to the help of Basin on the bottom. 4 wide. Landon Veliky goes to the safer barrier and runs the rail with Hunter Hastings. They're going to take a couple of cars with them. Westmoreland's going to stay third lane. Stay composed for now as Hastings and Veliky make the first big move of the race. What that is allowed to do, the jockeying outbacks allow the bottom to get up and running. It's Helton, it's Basin, and it's Chris McCullough who pokes his nose in clean air. Helton throws the block back to 3 as here comes Merck again. 3 wide for the lead. 3 wide, 12 rows deep. Everyone's in this lead pack.
Well, you saw last night, Basin and Helton working together in their heat race now. Right now, you're seeing, contact made. What a save! Hell of a save by Asher Little. As they come through the triangle, Basin leads them across the line. Dylan Basin adds his name to the lap leaderboard tonight. As right now, that third lane trying to get formed back up. Landon Veliky thought about redoing it one more time with Hunter Hastings on that 4th lane. They'll stay 3 wide as Basin and Hilton will bring them off of turn number 2 now, down the back straightaway. And right now, Dawson, much similar to last night, that middle lane looks like it'll be the favorite for now.
Well, it's got a dynamite duo leading it. Dylan Basin and Logan Helton, a pair of drivers that you see on Tuesday nights in the Coke Series, lead that line in front of Josh McCullough. Chris McCullough went middle to top on the bumper of Merck. That's the outside charge now with Carl Bond. You're on board with Hunter Hastings, and you see rush hour traffic, 3 abreast at nearly 200 miles an hour back through the tri-oval. Basin and Helton have to disengage as Helton has to cool the engine off just a little bit. Isaac Treese drops down in front of Kolmacheski. That's the lead on the bottom now, right in front of Asher Little. You heard Jim Bob talk about a moment ago, but not anymore. Stephen Miles turns left out of line. He's got 2 car lengths to wait on his push. He had a big run, but the inside had not gotten quite going. They will here off turn 2. Josh McCullough to the help of Chris McCullough off 2. The 2 Coke Series drivers will block his out back. Brian Hennings, rather no, that's Carl Bond, split Nanny 4 wide in the center. Velicky and Hastings go with him as a few of those cars get to the front of the field, a couple of them being Jack Shack teammates, 3 of them now lined up on the outside.
Right now, racing with 27 laps to go, like it's 7 to go. And then still Basin and Hilton hooked up. Both drivers trying to work the lane control. They'll hold off Joshua McCullough, MMS regular. By all standards, trying to lock in to the SummerSlam 499 and join his dad, Kenneth McCullough, tomorrow night. As right now, well, really trying to get the whole family locked in with Christopher McCullough with them. 2 by 2, but I don't anticipate staying like that for long. Stephen, one around, the number 30 around, back straight away. Caution is out for the 2nd time tonight. Chris Carter involved in this, Daniel Nanny involved among others. And for Chris Carter, one of the sponsors coming into tonight, big damage to that 25 machine.
Yeah, tough break for Chris Carter as he gets involved in this one. This appeared to be a stack up, again, about mid-pack. I could kind of see this brewing while you were talking there, Jim Bob, as Evan Carlbon got spit out of line and was trying to jump back in. And by lifting to let him back in, I think it was Hastings that let him back in line. And by lifting to let him in, it kind of caused a stack up that worked its way back and ended up with a crash. Daniel Nanny was the first car that got around. Carter is in this. Kolmacheski is in this. There was one other car. I think it might have been DJ Thomas that was involved in this as well, deep in the field. Damage is not as bad to the Kolmacheski or Thomas machines. But for Carter, obviously, some pretty big damage where he got the inside wall. Though I'll tell you, he almost could have gotten away a little bit worse there. I don't think the front end is worse for wear as we thought. And you'll see it here. We'll back it up a little bit further in just a second. But it's Nanny off the bumper of, again, I think that's DJ Thomas, and it is. And he goes sideways. And then in the secondary, you see Kolmacheski whip it out of line, trying to miss it. Carter the same. These next-gen cars have been light all week, especially when you're on the brakes. And both those cars get clipped. Man, Trey Whitehead gets clipped in this one, too. I think he did make the save, although he's back towards the tail end of the field.
Well, for some, obviously, looking at Chris Carter, just the way the car looked initially, I thought it'd be a little bit worse than what it was. There you see Asher Little may have a little bit of damage. As right now, Nanny just going for a slide. Carter's going to try to seize the smoke. Can't see nothing, really. Just hard on the brakes, trying to slow down. And, good God almighty, that 23 almost got more involved in this than what he was. The good news is I still think there's a little bit more time for these guys to try to get back up to the front. Obviously, for Chris Carter, it's going to be, well, how much damage does he have to that nose, and how difficult will it be for that 25 to sit there and try to just stay in the draft? If it is significant, like 2 or 3 minutes worth, then he may be able to hold on to the draft, but he is not going to be one of them, I believe, we see step out of line.
Yeah, so an early setback for Chris Carter. Now, it is, interesting the position that he is in this race. And now's when I'll kind of start to talk about this. I prefaced this a couple of times tonight of the races we have coming up. Some drivers that you see in this race, this is not necessarily the last opportunity that they will have. Later on in the night, after the top 24 shootout race, which comes up right after this, there'll be a last chance provisional race. There are 27 spots on the grid. Many of the drivers for that race have already been declared, and several are already racing in this race, to where there are alternate drivers if they're able to race in. But some of these drivers that you see in this field are going to be racing later if they are unable to advance through to the top 8. looking at this field, I know that Brian Hennings is on that list. I know Jeff Merck is on that list, amongst some others of guys that will be racing in that last chance provisional race later on in the night. And, we'll explain that again as we get closer to it. But that's just a couple of the cars. Again, I know there are others in this field that will race in that race later on in the night. So for certain guys, you see this as a last chance, but not really, although starting to looking towards that race, that is 27 drivers for 1 spot. Tonight is 36 drivers for 8. Your odds are just slightly better here in this one. But as we get ready to go back, Green, Dylan Basin continues to lead the way. He and Logan Helton have been a really good duo for each other so far in this race. We'll see if that teamwork continues on. They're 1 and 2. Chris McCullough is 3rd. Josh McCullough 4th. Jeff Merck 5th. Brian Hennings 6th. Evan Carlbon is 7th. And Michael Sturgill occupies the 8th and final transfer spot as they run. But of course that will change because here we come to the choose cone. And again, throughout the week, the story has been many drivers want to hold serve up front, take the top, get the better restart, and put themselves in a better position to be on offense by the time we get off turn 2. And as we come to the choose, you're going to see that again. Basin, Helton, both McCulloughs go top side. First driver to dip out of line is Merck, then Hennings, then Carlbot. That will be the first 3 on the bottom side of the racetrack. After them, you've got to go all the way back to Hunter Hasting and Brock Westmoreland outside the top 10, who are going to pick up about 5 spots apiece here as they choose. And the trade-off is the bottom lane's not been going as well, but when you get the right cars down there, in this case, Merck, Hennings, Carlbon, Hasting, even back to the Brock Westmoreland machine, these are regulars. These are guys that run every night. They know the ins and outs of these cars. They know how the pushes work. When you get groups like that on the bottom side, especially if you can line up some teammates, it gives the bottom a little bit more of a fighting chance by the time we get off to, and you saw some coordination potentially there of guys going to the bottom to try to maintain their track position.
Well, right now at the front, you got a pro driver and then a Jack Shack driver who arguably we have talked about Jeff Merck a couple of times this week. One of many drivers who have given to the money racing scene, one of its most tenured drivers. Right now for Jeff Merck, it is just simply try to lock into a top 8 as really. I'm looking at this top 8 now, and I can realistically see every one of these guys going to Sunday. However, there are still some at the back who I believe are not done making their presence known. One in particular, Jack Shack driver in lane and Velikey, will be restarting very deep in the field. Dawson, slower and slower now. It's starting to become crunch time. These guys are starting to get ramped up as they'll be coming down to the restart zone. Basin bringing them down. I'll let you take it away.
22 laps to go in this final LCQ race of this event. Basin and Merck occupy the front row as we continue to work towards the halfway point of this race. Basin off and running. Green flag back in the air, but the bottom matched the punch this time. Merck got going, but Hennings did not from the 3rd position, and that's going to give the outside the advantage as Helton and McCullough got on the gas a little bit quicker than the VRX 74 on the bottom side of the racetrack, although Merck's restart allows them to at least be dead even with that 6th car on the outside. Merck will, in fact, nose ahead by the time they get off turn 2 here, and that's what I was talking about. If that inside car gets enough of a launch when they're not the control car, they can at least draw that line even and give them a fighting chance as the field works back down to 3. First 3-wide move. Miles and Asher Little going to go together here to turn 3. They're the first down the line up the banking of 3 and 4, but Asher Little dumps off Miles into 3, and Stephen Miles all by his lonesome here up the banking. Here comes Santo as his help.
Well, Hill works off in turn number 4. Basin and Hilton, same story. Continue to lead here over to McCullough's. As right now, Sturgill now up to the top 5 spot. Merck falls back to 6th. Make it 7th now and in jeopardy being the gatekeeper for the top 8 as Janzik now holds on to that 8th spot, and at the front a little bit calmer on this restart to what we've seen the majority of the night. As I say that, here comes Patton on the outside. He's going to get hung out to dry middle lane with the majority of the help as they work down the back straightaway. Sturgill now to the outside. Here it comes Freddie Bassinez up the bottom, storming up the bottom. He's going to go for 3rd, maybe 2nd here. Basin holds the bottom lane. He'll come over turn 4. Hilton with a run, getting pushed by Christopher McCullough. As right now the outside lane no help right now in that outside lane as Hilton brings it down. 20 laps to go here, and a big move by Christopher McCullough.
That calmness only lasted as long as it took you to end that sentence, Jim Bob. And now they're right back to racing up at the front of the field. McCullough Basin lead back to turn one as Basin gets through on the inside. Imagine he'll make the move up, out back the third lane. It's starting to get to work. Miles was up for a moment. He thought about it, got back down. Sturgill's thinking about it too. Haley, Patton are in that line. Nanny, now Miles is going to jump up here on the end of the back straightaway. Velicki, Diedrich, both in that line as well. But the outside fades again here down the Alabama Gang super stretch and back to turn three. It's simplification up front, 2x2 for about the first 9 rows. Merck up in front of Helton, that's fourth in line. McCullough, Basin, Bassinez come clear on the bottom. Hennings behind them, Bassinez up. Basin up, McCullough up to block. Basin gets thrown out of line. That is a monster save for the Build Submarines forward to Dylan Basin. One of the saves of the week, saves his race and his chances. He'll go to the back, but Jim Bob, he'll still be in this event by the skin of his teeth right there.
Yeah, he'll be in it, but by God, he'll fall back like a rock tying to an anchor. As right now, back up front, no surprise, Freddie Bassinez to the top spot here at Talladega with Merck right behind him, Hilton in the mix as well. Josh McCullough looks to the middle lane. McCullough going to try to pull that middle lane back. Meanwhile, Christopher McCullough trying to rally that bottom. As right now, Jansen with a big move to the outside of that number 97 machine, but it is still Bassinez bringing him off of 4. Hilton to the outside. Oh, Asher Little contact right in the back. Caution is
there's
out.
more crashing in the trial. DJ Thomas gets turned into the secondary. Zanto, Thompson, Velicki, and others come apart here in the trial, and the second incident of the night breaks out just before the halfway point.
Aubrey Thompson involved in this. He's in the grass, got a little bit of damage to that left front. I'll tell you, Dylan Basin, you talk about a cat with 9 lives, just saved it. Lap and a half prior, and Basin barely does get through this in the RFK Built Submarine Ford. This will happen all in front of him as more big names you mentioned, Thompson, Santos, all involved. See what in the world happened to get us under caution here, and be flat honest with you, looks like they are 4 wide for starters, so probably has something to do with it. As let's see. Yeah, looks like Asher Little comes up, I believe. At least I'm assuming that's Asher Little. One car comes out. I know for a fact that that car jumps up into the middle lane, will crowd to Jack Shack's lane and Velicki against the outside wall. And from there, it is on. There you see Thompson gets into Thomas, and Dawson at that point, you're along for the ride.
Yeah, tough break there, and it was Asher Little that you called out as the car that jumped bottom to middle, and he tried to make a move and overshot it just a little bit, I think. And again, this takes me back to something I said. I can't remember if it was Sunday night in the Sunday Money race from McCullough Motorsports. I can't remember for sure. These drivers don't get 4 wide calls. You have to have a human spotter, not the iRacing provided spotter, to get a 4 wide call. And I think for Little right there, I'm just not sure he's aware that there's 2 cars out there rather than just one, as Velicki tried to make a 4 wide move. I'm just not entirely sure that he knew they were staggered 4 wide here, because you see Treese in the second lane. That's the car. I'm just not sure that he knows there's 3 cars there instead of just a couple. And for Little right there, he overshoots it. Treese gets into him, and it shoots Velicki to the right. There's nothing Velicki or Zwack can do. That's Matthew Zwack involved as well, by the way, in the JDR Camry up against the outside wall. So for those two, and again, it's a tough break for Asher Little. He just overshot the move the slightest bit, and it's chaos from there. Then in the secondary, Thompson gets into Thomas, turns him around. Santos involved. Whitehead bails to pit road. Thompson ends up going for a spin in front of this. Harrison Santos may get a piece. Keith Haley gets a piece. That's the black and white 0-1. So it ends up being 6 or 7 cars that get involved in this one between the first and the second incidents that kind of triggered as Thomas jumps on the brakes to try to miss the Velicki Zwack Little situation. Thompson gets in the back of him, and it's on from there in the secondary. Numerous cars on pit road here, fixing some damage. Thompson, Zwack, Thomas, Haley, and Zanto, the 5 cars that are down pit road. Well, Freddie Bassinez continues to lead. He's been awful good in this LCQ to this point. He just took the lead away from Logan Helton before that caution came out. Logan Helton continues to run in second. Then it's Josh McCullough third, Jeff Merck fourth, and Evan Carlbon is back up to the fifth spot where he started. Hunter Hastings, Michael Sturgill, Craig Jancic all occupy the final 3 transfer spots, plus 16 for Hastings, plus 15 for Sturgill, plus 26 for Craig Jancic into transfer spots, plus 14 for Logan Helton into a transfer spot as well. Some drivers out looking in. Miles in 9th, Call in 10th, Ray in 11th, Chris McCullough in 12th, Caden Diedrich 13th, Brian Hennings 14th, amongst others. Veliky 19th, Carter 20th. Now we talk about some of the regulars. Barksdale 22nd, Patton 24th, Basin 26th. Talk about the lifeline he got after that big save. Asher Little 30th, and of course the drivers involved in that caution. Coming back to the choose again, this LCQ has some chaos, Jim Bob, but again, I say we almost got away with another one with the Basin incident a moment ago, with the Veliky incident right there. The time bomb starting to tick down. It's going to work really quickly with one of the drivers on track, so we get ready to go back under the green flag. A driver for Team PGR and VRX in Brian Hennings. Brian, it's the boys in the booth. You got a copy.
Going on, Dawson.
Well, not too much. Look, you watched LCQ number 1. Now you're in the race car. This one's been, I would say, just as chaotic, especially at the front of the field. You know, what's the view out the nose of the 74 here? Is guys make big moves? Obviously, there's no fast repair anymore. You know, what are you seeing from your perspective early in this one as we choose?
That's a little chaotic, to be expected. It's a lot of good drivers in here. It's getting a little crazy. Just I don't know. I hope the top is a good choice this time. It just sucks, you know. You go to the bottom and hope you get a run and just keep losing spots. So I don't know, we'll see if the old choosing the top works this time. But yeah, just try to survive.
Well, look, obviously, you know, trying to survive is the game plan, but talk about the choose cone for a second. It's new to the marquee events. We've been using it, you know, off and on in PGR for a couple of months now, but, you know, factor it into the way this car is raced this week. Just take me through the importance of where you choose and kind of, you know, what's it been like in the race car, trying to choose the bottom doesn't go, then the next restart it does. We saw you and Jeff Merck and Carl Bond work it really well in the last restart. You know, what does it take to be willing to choose the bottom and make it go on a restart?
Basically, every time I'm choosing bottom, it's just to try to get some track position and then just hope that you can get up. I mean, it's still pretty much a top line dominant car. So anytime I'm choosing bottom, it's just to try to get some spots. But then it's just the gamble of, you know, can you get up? If you can't, then you just get a parachute and just start watching everyone pass you.
Well, Brian, we'll let you get back to work aboard that 74 machine for Team PGR. Good luck the rest of the way. We'll see if we're seeing here at the end of this thing, racing 499 miles tomorrow.
Hope so. Appreciate it.
So for Brian Hennings, he talked about how you make the bottom go. Some cars trying to do that here. Carl Bond, Sturgill, Call, Ray, McCullough all go to the bottom. That's Chris McCullough. Josh third on the outside of this restart. So just some of the cars trying to make the bottom work here. I noticed further back, Nanny, Veliky, Carter, Komacheski, some big moves to gain track position and put themselves back up closer to the transfer spots with just under half of this race to go. In fact, 16 laps remaining as the field back into the Simrat Market restart zone. Green flag back in the air. The bottom got another good jump. Carl Bond got on the gas early, but Sturgill did not. The push is better up top from Hilton. McCullough got going, then a gap behind McCullough as Jeff Merck isn't quite quick enough on the loud pedal. Sturgill's going to take advantage of that. So he'll jump up. Carl Bond waits for Austin Call, and it is a freight train in the middle line off turn 2.
Right now, as they work down the back straightaway, and of course for Bazinez, one of the Jack Stack guys, he has Carl Bond, and now he's got Jeff Merck coming with Stephen Miles on the outside. He'll stall out eventually, but right now, Bazinez leads him in turn number 3. But what I'm saying is Bazinez has options as Carl Bond starting to come up the bottom, trying to make the bottom lane work side by side for third. Right now, Hinton and Bazinez still clear, 14 to go this time. And right now, Austin Call, who was ranked a half a lap into this event, is back inside the top 5 and within a spot in the SummerSlam. 14 to go, 3 wide further back as Miles and Merck have not got going, and here comes Hilton to the bottom. Hilton to the lead here in the LCQ number 2.
Big move to the inside for Logan Helton in car 42 as he made the move onto the nose of Evan Carlbon, the pusher now on the bottom side. But here comes the run up in the middle lane again.
Oh!
Trouble. Carlbon gets turned. Evan Carlbon to his left, spins to the apron. They're going to crash again. Lucky contact up front, and a potential big incident going on here in turn 4. Diedrich turned. Cars in the wall. The field flies apart. Big names in this one.
Chris Carter right there, still wrecking. in the middle of turns 3 and 4. No, I saw Chris Carter get involved. Thompson may have damage padding through the grass. Jeff Mark with damage to that 60 machine. As folks, this is going to be about as big as it gets. And it will come towards the end of LCQ number 2. What in the name of might has happened now? Try to take a look. As Chris Carter's still trying to get it going here. Well, there you see Carl. Well, from what I see, Carl Bond gets turned, and then of course Veliky gets turned. 24 is involved in this. 97 Jeff Mark against the outside retaining wall right there. You see it on your screen. So that little bit of contact right there, it just looks like they get congested. Evan Carl Bond, unfortunately, going around here up towards the front now is the big question here. As okay, so. Believe that'll be Sturgill and Veliky making contact. Veliky, by God, he tried to save it. Devin Ray, he'll go for a slide as well. But at this point, everybody just according Merkin to the back of the one. There you see it. Then from there, Chris Carter, another foot. He has it cleared. Will go up, and he is going to slam the outside retaining wall. And Dawson, this just dropped a grenade into this whole field, and now some guys, this could be terminal.
If Veliky had split the middle, that's Chancic, not Sturgill. The 97, he had split to the center, and from there it is on. It's almost fortunate for Evan Carlbon, I think, that he spins when he does, because he would have been right around the area where this incident started. Chancic is involved. I'm not sure about the damages on him. Up ahead, David Giusti got around as well. That's the 5. Isaac Treese is in this in the 1. Of course, we mentioned Carter. He's got big damage. Appears to be big damage on the Caden Diedrich car as well in the 24. In fact, I don't think he was able to make it back to his pit box under his own power. Neither was Carter. So both of those cars continue to sit on pit road. Stephen Miles was involved in this in the 24. He talked about the damage on Jeff Merck as well. Brock Westmoreland may have gotten a piece of this. So a number of cars involved in this one and a number of big names. On board out back with Chris Blanchard, and he's going to see this thing spark up. And you want to talk about nervous as a driver, trying to jump on the brakes and just not knowing where anyone is going to go. Blanchard, lucky for him, he's able to get on the brakes plenty in time. But look at the mess in front of him.
Well, like you said, blessing in disguise for Carl Bond. I mean, you saw the onboard Brian Hennings. He barely makes it through. And with that, up to 13th as we stand. So, a blessing in disguise for some. It turned into a night from hell. As right now, field pacing here with Bazinez, Hilton, McCullough, Sturgill, and call your top 5, Dawson. We look at this list here. We still got 2 more to go after this.
And 2 more races to come. Of course, I've talked about the last chance provisional. That's going to be the nightcap later on around, I would say, about the 10:30, 11 o'clock hour on the East Coast. But the top 24 shootout is still to come after this. So you see the drivers contesting this field on the left side. On the right side, it's the top 3 finishers from all 8 heat races that will race for their starting spot tomorrow. Those drivers already guaranteed a spot in the race, but they'll race to see who starts on the front row for tomorrow afternoon's feature. Of course, look at the names on there. Garza, Hill, Flanagan. Sprecher had a good run in his heat race. Mace, Bies, Ellis, McCullough, Reel, Champagne, Wynn. I mean, this is a who's who of super speedway racing that's in that race coming up as well. Of course, as series co-owner Matthew Baker, and you heard the excitement for him last night, and the potential for him to get a big win to start up front would be extra special, I think, for him to bring the field to green. How cool of a moment would that be? All he's done for PGR to be the man leading the field to the opening start tomorrow afternoon for 499 miles. They'll choose at the line here, and we'll get to that in just 1 second. Before we get back under the green flag, it's a special day, a day of tribute, also a day of celebration, as a super speedway legend in the community. LG Whaley would have been 87 today. LG passed away a while back, and we miss him every day. But for LG, for Jimmy Crow, some of the OGs, some of the original super speedway aces and the original promoters of super speedway racing. And so we want to pay tribute to LG with this race tonight, and remember him as we go throughout Last Chance Qualifier number 2. But again, what better way to celebrate what would have been LG's 87th birthday? The way he would have been celebrating it is super speedway racing, and that's what we do here tonight. Let's reset the field for you as we get ready to go back green. Freddie Bassinez chose the outside. He's the control car. Austin Call will line up alongside him in the Aflac Toyota. Row 2 going to be Devin Ray and Logan Helton. And with row 3 is going to be Landon Velicki in the 62, emerges back at the front with Josh McCullough. Behind Velicki is Basin on the inside of row 4. They've got Sturgill with them. Last 2 cars in the top 10 are Michael Barksdale and Hunter Hasting. So again, top 8 transfer through. Everyone else goes home. A number of huge names already with some setbacks. Zwack has had damage. Jancic has had damage. Carl Bond has had damage in this race now in the 78, of course, coming off that spin. Big damage on some other cars. Austin Petrie-Adger called it tonight after his incident on lap 1. Isaac Treese, it appears, is also called it tonight in car number 1. They have both taken their cars behind the wall. Chris Carter and Caden Diedrich both sit on pit road. A pair of big names in this race, Jim Bob, at least as of now, appear to be throwing in the towel here in LCQ number 2.
Well, at the front, Bassinez have called. They have been here practically from the get-go. Bassinez had to come back from the back a little bit. Well, I say the get-go for Austin Call. He has had to work. He's had to put in some work to get back up here within a spot to transfer as the pace car is in this time. And they'll come down to a restart zone, Dawson. But they will be within 10 to go here. Nobody's about to hold punches.
No, for sure, there will not be any punches held here. Simrat Market restart zone once again. 10 laps to go in LCQ race number 2. Pushes better in either direction here at the banking at turn 1. Bassinez and Call actually had a pretty even restart there between them. Of the banking, they go into turns 1 and 2. Ray to the push first on the bottom of Call. Outside, Helton pushing on Bassinez. More cars lined up outside. McCullough, Basin, Sturgill, Hastings, Chris McCullough, all pushing 8, 9, 10 cars deep in line. Still works the Alabama Gang Super Stretch, and as such, top 2 cars. Top 3 cars clear. Top side of the racetrack, or middle side rather. Miles and Merck first move out back. Trey Whitehead's going to go with them up the banking at turn 3. It's the first 3 wide move as we get inside 10 to go.
Well, Bassinez will bring him off at turn number 4. Hilton right hooked up to the back bumper. Hilton has been up here since the get-go. And how about Dylan Bazin from almost wrecked to almost involved in the big one to now right back inside of a transfer spot. Meanwhile, here comes Sturgill to the bottom lane, that number 3 machine. Christopher McCullough to the outside.
Yeah, McCullough makes a big move to the outside there, 3 wide. He's got Nanny with him. Brian Hennings is in that line. We talked to him just a second ago. They work off turn 2 once again. Bassinez on the push from Helton. Down the Alabama Gang Super Stretch one more time. 9 laps to go. Single digits only left. 3 cars on the bottom. Sturgill, Call, and Devin Ray trying to get this line going. Landon Velicki's finally going to give them some help here on the entrance to turn 3. Split out of line. Josh McCullough to the center now on the push from Hastings. He'll go all the way to the bottom. Bassinez goes with him to the double yellow. Freddie Bassinez, a big block. It's going to allow Logan Helton, though, to go back to the lead on the push from Basin. The pro drivers to the outside for the lead as one car looks 4 wide. Hennings gets spit out of line.
Oh, and there they go. Wrecking in the back. Big one happens again. Jeff Merck involved. Santos spins to the bottom. Michael Barksdale, Patton, Devin Ray. Thomas is involved in this. Aubrey Thompson, or no, the 01, spins to the bottom of the racetrack. And this is about the biggest one we've seen of the week.
Yeah, absolutely it is. It's by far the biggest one we've seen in these LCQs, and it's a number of major names involved in this one that have some form of damage. Trey Whitehead got kicked to the right. That was the first car that I saw get out of line. And, you know, as we start to digest which names are in this, remember, some of the drivers involved in crashes tonight do have an opportunity to race later in the last chance provisional race, Jeff Merck being one of those cars, but it's still not the way you want your LCQ to go. You'd rather race your way in this race than have to rely on that one later. It's 4 wide right around Brian Hennings. Hennings had just gotten spit out, and Whitehead bounces off Hastings and comes back down. Zanto, Ray, they all kind of pinball off each other, and Zanto kicks Whitehead back to the right, and that's where this is going to start. Big damage there. That's Hennings into the outside wall. And then as the field scrambles, they're staggered 4 wide, a couple of rows deep. Zanto gets turned by Ray. Velicki trying to scramble out of this in the 62. And multiple cars just with nowhere to go. Santos, Barksdale, Dawson Barker. Another car there on the inside. Can't tell which one that is. Matthews Whack involved in the 18. There's Thomas, Haley, Little, Merck. Double digit, a dozen cars involved in this one.
For some, Landon Veliky, Zwack, their night from hell continues here. It's right here. This is all classic Talladega in every sense of the word. One driver gets out of shape, everybody else reacts to it, and then from there, it's almost like when you whack a hornet's nest and they all come flying out, cars going all over the place. Veliky spins to the inside, Devin Ray. Honestly, I think for you, Dawson, the guys who are at the bottom, all they did was maybe bounce off each other a little bit. They might be fine. Maybe 30, 45, up to a minute and a half worth of damage, something that you can get fixed on the majority of it. Feel like for some, like Merck, like Thomas, who impacted that outside wall, the damage might be a little bit more severe. But Jeff Merck still out onto the racetrack, so you don't really know right now until you actually see when they come in to the pits, like who all's involved, who all's got the worst of it, because some of them might gotten lucky, even though it does not look like it.
Yeah, like you said, some of those guys bottom of the racetrack may have just kind of bounced off of each other here in pinball, trying to miss the incident. A couple of cars just looked like went for a spin. I think Zwack's in that camp in the 18, Asher Little, and a couple of others towards the tail end. Brian Hennings, big damage. Landon Veliky continues to sit on pit road. Thomas, Barker, Haley, Whitehead, Jancic all appear to have bigger damage than some of those cars. Santos as well. That's Harrison Santos in the 28 as well. Tough breaks all around for a lot of guys. And again, this heat, or rather this LCQ, we talked about the names in this last chance qualifier and said at the beginning something has to give in this race. With this many big names, only 8 spots on the line, something was going to have to give. We knew big drivers would go home in this race. And as attrition starts to take over, those drivers are starting to become more clear. As we get back ready to go into the green flag, we'll pass it down to my co-host Jim Bob, who stands by with the driver of the 06, the 06 fire engine, Andrew Zanto.
Andrew, buddy, it's been an up and down night, been a hell of a night for the 06 machine. I got to say, right now, look like you're going to be out last night. You get back in, and right now, looking what a spot to transfer to the biggest race of the summer. What are the nerves and what is the anticipation like here as we get set to go back green?
Nervous, just nervous. I've done these money races for years now, and this is probably the most nervous I've been in. But yet it's weirdly the most calm because I know what's coming. I know what to expect. I know the people around me. It's just knowing when trouble's going to turn.
Well, I got to say, push comes to shove, you're kind of in a scenario where it's a 50-50 chance. You make it or you don't. I got to say, which lane would you rather be in if all hell does break loose here? Off of turn 4, turn 2, wherever it breaks loose at, where would you rather be? You've chosen the outside lane here. Bottom, well, that's pretty quick.
Because the thing is that if they're wrecking, you have hundreds of yards to have your safe haven. But if you stay up top, you got to watch out for the wall. You got faster runs if you have to check up and get by the wreck. But I mean, as people say, don't lift. You cannot lift now.
Well, buddy, best of luck from here on out. Hopefully we'll get to talk to you at the end of this thing.
Thanks, guys.
Yes, sir. Well, Dawson, you hear it, nervous to say the least. Some guys right now, they might be feeling the nerves. That's coming with trying to make this race.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's kind of what makes these events special to hear how nervous some of the drivers are as we get ready to go back green into the Simrat Market restart zone, to hear that some guys who race these races every week are nervous coming into these events. It shows you the spectacle that it is. It shows you what's on the line as we get ready for what could be the final restart. 5th caution cleaned off the racetrack. To the Simrat Market restart zone we go. 5 laps to go in LCQ number 2, and off to the races goes Logan Helton. Dylan Basin with him. The push is up at the front of the field on the outside. Bassinez, McCullough get going as well. The bottom with Sturgill is stuck on the bottom. 4, 5, 6 cars deep by the time they rise the banking.
Well, identical to what we saw earlier on. Bazin and Hilton hooked up on the outside lane. Bazinet settles in third right now, side by side for the fourth spot on back. As right now, 5 laps to go. The intensity about to go off the Richter scale. Asher Little looks 3 wide. Further back in the field, here comes Hunter Hasty. He's going to go 3 wide. As right now, as I just said, the action's starting to pick up. Joshua McCullough now on the outside looking in. Him and Stephen Miles battling for this cut line. As they'll come off a turn 4, they're going to see 4 laps to go. This time for these drivers' last chance to make tomorrow's main event.
Indeed, the last chance for several drivers to make it in. Helton continues to lead back to turn 1. You were on board with Hunter Hastings there for just a moment. The move to the outside, here's Michael Barksdale. A couple other cars looking to the outside lane. The desperation time is now for drivers from 15th on back. You've got to go if you're going to make it happen. Middle lane has several cars clear. Helton, Basin,
Barksdale.
All the trouble.
There they go. There's the rest of the damn field right there. Everybody's wrecking, motors exploding everywhere. Throw Thompson, throw Patton, throw Jeff Merck again. His night from hell continues. You can throw just about Harrison Santos involved, Trey Whitehead involved. Like, for some, this is it. Barksdale damaged, Jeff Merck damaged. Dawson, we're starting to see now. Talladega is starting to eliminate the drivers who it does not want in the SummerSlam 499 tomorrow night. And unfortunately for some, this will be actually terminal. As hard to say who that looks like. Veliky again. Yeah, Landon Veliky. No. Hard to say who it is that gets into Michael Barksdale. I'm sure, Dawson, you can probably shed some light on that. But regardless of the fact, it is going to take out Matthew Patton, is going to take out Aubrey Thompson. There you see a massive shot from Jeff Merck as everybody just flying apart down to Talladega's back straightaway. Bam, hard into the inside wall goes several drivers. And really, Dawson, we call this every week. We see this on a daily. But some of these names in here, there is Veliky. He's involved in it, just not the initial cause. Some of the drivers who are having the worst luck tonight in this LCQ, I got to admit, I am took by surprise.
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be a storyline no matter what in this race as we get towards the later stages. And, you know, for a few guys, obviously, Jeff Merck, that's the second straight one for him. Again, we talked about the potential extra opportunity that he will have. Aubrey Thompson is in this. More cars towards the back end. Barksdale, Keith Haley, Santos again, Dawson Barker again. I mean, these are guys that have been involved in more than one tonight. And it just takes one thing. You talked about snowball effect, and that can often be the storyline in these big events. Something happens, maybe not off the game mentally, but you're at the back of the field anyway. Something else triggers in front of you. You just can't miss that one either. And your race starts to snowball on you. And for a couple of drivers, we are getting into that kind of territory as multiple drivers are going to go laps down here into this yet another caution of the night that will actually, I believe, extend this race into overtime. So this will be the one and only overtime attempt. Let's preface you on the overtime rules before we get back going here under what will be the last restart of this race. There is only one green-white checkered attempt in this LCQ race. It's been the case for the heats. It's the case for these LCQs as well. There will only be one restart here. The caution will not come out no matter what happens on this opening lap of this restart. This race will be allowed to finish under green. The caution will be held. Any incidents will be reviewed post-race. Any changes to the transfer spot lineup will be made by race control once we get past the checkered flag. With that in mind, obviously the aggression and potential aggression here on the choose cone is a major part of this restart. Throughout this week, both lap incidents, first lap incidents on these overtime restarts have taken drivers completely out of contention, but also where you choose has often made the difference between making it or not. Jack Mace was going to restart 12th in his heat race a couple of nights ago, chose the bottom, got all the way to third, and finished third, and now will race in the top 24 shootout. So his fate goes from not making the event at all to not only is he locked in, he'll race for the pole here in about an hour. A huge deal in terms of where you take on the choose. The other end of that, remember back to last night's Heat 7, Jim Bob, a move on the restart as a car tried to jump up in line as the inside did not get going, wiped out a number of cars inside the transfer positions, and some of the guys, just by virtue of where they chose, had nowhere to go. This choose will make or break whether or not you make the SummerSlam 499. That's the importance, and that's why the rule's been implemented. It makes a whole different wrinkle to this style of racing that we are not used to in these marquee events. For the choose, Logan Helton, Dylan Basin, Freddie Bassinez will be the top three, then Chris and Josh McCullough, then Stephen Miles, then Daniel Nanny, and then Matthew Zwack, who has wrecked a couple of times tonight. It's not been the night that the JDR Camry has wanted, but nonetheless, he is back into a transfer spot as we'll get ready to choose for the final time. Helton goes to the bottom. The Coca-Cola iRacing Series drivers will split. Helton to the bottom, Basin top, Bassinez top, Chris and Josh McCullough top, Stephen Miles to the bottom in the 24. He'll go to third. Nanny to the top, Zwack to the top. So Zwack's going to sacrifice 4 positions to take the top lane. Second car on the bottom, or rather third car on the bottom, Andrew Zanto in the 06 as he goes to the 5th position here. Brock Westmoreland's going to advance into a transfer spot by choosing the bottom. Hunter Hastings goes to the bottom. Aaron Smith, the guy we have not called his name a lot, goes to the bottom, amongst others. Asher Little as well. Guys that need it to happen right here. Jim Bob choosing the bottom, the desperation factor. It's not been the better lane tonight, but for some guys towards the back, it's their only chance at making tomorrow.
Well, this is do or die. This is make or break. And honest to God, this is about to be chaotic. And I hate to say it, we're past the point of no return for some of them. If you're back there in 23rd, 24th, 25th, unless the seas part and the Lord's on your side, you're probably not going to be making the top 8. Really, I can say that about if you're about 16th on back. Right now, this is about to be big. This is about to be it. It's about to get chaotic, crazy, hectic. But I'll say this, Dawson, I do not believe Hilton is going to leave Basin and vice versa.
Well, they've been so good together in this race. I got to imagine that you're correct here, Jim Bob. Those two have been a dynamite duo to this point. They want to see each other tomorrow in the 499. They don't want tonight to become the reason that neither of them are racing for $2,000 in a championship belt tomorrow. This time on this restart, the onus is on the bottom to go. Helton is the control car on the bottom side of the racetrack for overtime in LCQ number 2 to the Simrat Market restart zone. Green flag for the final time and last chance qualifier number 2. Helton changed lanes before the start-finish line. He comes back down, but it's the onus on race control. Did he establish the top lane or did he get back down in time? Helton, that's going to be awfully close, razor thin for the driver of the Money Lap Toyota.
Right now, nothing's being shown at the moment. They'll work down the back straight away. Here it comes. Oh, wrecking in the back. Joshua McCullough does not say that. Austin Call barely makes it in. Big crashing in the back. But we keep it green with 2 left to go. Hilton, still no signs of a black flag yet. So right now, this race is official. And whenever they make it back to the white flag, right now, Hunter Hastings holding the final cut spot in as they'll come to the trove or Dawson Wise. 1 lap to go, 2.66 miles to determine who goes to tomorrow.
1 lap to go at Talladega in LCQ number 2, and it's pretty well simplified here at the front of the field. Single file behind Logan Helton, the race leader. Stephen Miles behind him, then Basin, then Bassinez, then Chris McCullough, then Zanto, and then it's on for the transfer spots behind those guys. Trouble! Miles gets turned out of line. Stephen Miles seemingly eliminated here on the last lap of LCQ number 2. Helton will lead back to turn 3. The race is still on. Out back the move, start up top with Carl Bond. Out front is still Logan Helton. Veliky Call are still very much in this if the field decides to get rowdy here off turn number 4. For the final time, they'll rumble off turn 4 and onto the front stretch into the view of the grandstands. Logan Helton has run a near-perfect race. So has Basin. They'll stay in line in the tri-oval. Logan Helton is a PGR winner. He wins LCQ2 as Veliky wrecks behind him.
Well, I gotta say, that's textbook, and for Dylan Basin, the drive of his life. He'll be going to tomorrow night, as will Bassinez, Chris McCullough, Westmoreland, Evan Carl Bond. Kometsky and Devin Ray. Of course, unofficial right now, Andrew Santos out of the SummerSlam 499.
And a tough break for Santo after the drive he had up to this point in this LCQ. Several drivers involved in crashes there on the last overtime attempt, so a number of them not advancing. I mean, you want to talk about some names here as we get ready for Helton to celebrate. By the way, yes, Helton is now officially a winner on the PGR scene as he wins this LCQ race. But some names not moving on as of right now, and keep that in mind, it is unofficial, because remember the incident involving Stephen Miles on the backstretch. We'll see if anything is done with that one, but some drivers unofficially out: Hunter Hastings, Andrew Santo, Aaron Smith, Austin Call, Matthew Zwack, Whitehead, Jancic, Velicky, Aubrey Thompson, Barksdale, Asher Little, Miles, Merck, Josh McCullough, amongst other, Brian Hennings. A ton of big names are not moving on. One man that is, the Money Lap Toyota Camry for now of Logan Elton. Remember the lane change on the restart. We don't see any penalties yet, but remember, everything in overtime is reviewed. For now, though, he gets to celebrate on the front stretch unofficially as a PGR winner.
I gotta say, pretty good run. Never left really the top 10. Didn't even really top 5 for that matter, as I'll tell you, see two guys just stun the field to a degree. I know they're pro drivers, but Talladega, it doesn't really care what your status or what your rank is. As Logan Hilton takes LCQ number 2. It was a bit more chaotic, but when you have this star-studded lineup that we had, I got to admit, there's nothing. Honestly, I expected nothing less from a lot of these drivers who are going to do everything they can to make tomorrow. Right now, awaiting word real quick before we get going here. Dawson, was this last LCQ everything you thought it was going to be?
Oh, absolutely, and then some, Jim Bob. I think, we saw the field in this race leading up to this one, and how the field kind of developed over the course of last night. We knew there were big names. We knew the stakes. We knew what was going to happen tonight in this race. We knew it was going to be chaotic, big moves everywhere because of the caliber of competition that was on the field tonight, or on the grid tonight, and it absolutely lived up to the billing. And, really considering some of the bad luck that some of the pro drivers had this week. Remember, Michael Guest not moving on, Daniel Falkingham not moving on, Caden Diedrich not moving on. For some of the drivers that were unable to make it, that was about as easy as it gets for Helton and Basin. They ran about a perfect race in this one. And no surprise, again, Basin, a former PGR champion, Helton, the former winner on both the league and money racing side. Again, a pro in his own right, a super speedway ace. He's won about all there is to win in terms of the super speedway side of things. Well, he's going to spin the car here on the Polish victory lap, get some of the good out of it, I guess, as he gets off track from LCQ number 2. We are still awaiting official word as to whether or not the results are official. Again, we saw the move from Helton on the restart to change lanes. We also saw an incident on the last lap involving Stephen Miles that we are still awaiting to see if the results are official. So we are kind of waiting on race control here to give us some word on that. In the meantime, kind of watching the restart here, Jim Bob, kind of, break this down. With 2 to go, it got started towards the tail end of the field with Josh McCullough and others. And then on the white flag, it sparks up even more.
As we wait here to see the official look, as this appears to be a restart here. So right now, Stephen Miles would have pushed. I got to say, I am surprised that Stephen Miles' night may very well be done, but it's a great push by Miles. Right here, Helton, rather, my mistake. He definitely comes up. My question is, with Basin not to the back bumper, it's kind of hard to really tell how race control will look at this, because he goes up and then tries to get back down to the bottom. But I don't know, that's going to be tough to wreck on the back straightaway if we can get a look at it here. Well, regardless of the fact, LCQ number 2 comes to an end. controversial to say the least. But I don't know. I don't know, Dawson. That restart there, that's going to be tough to tell.
It's not going to be as tough to tell as we thought it was, Jim Bob, because we've got an official call, and it is heartbreak for the driver of the 42. Logan Helton is being given a penalty for a lane change violation on the final restart of tonight's race. And so he will be sent to the tail end of the longest line and eliminated from the SummerSlam 499 as part of that last restart violation. We are still awaiting a potential second call as well for that last lap incident we saw get sparked up. We are awaiting race control's decision on that. In the meantime, while we do, the man who's going to be in victory lane because of the call on that last restart is the driver for RFK Racing and a former PGR Series champion in Dylan Basin. Dylan, it's the boys in the booth. You get a copy.
Yes, sir.
Well, obviously, probably not the way you thought you would get to victory lane in this LCQ. You know, take me through the execution before that. We saw, between you and Logan Helton and Freddie Bassinez and several others, the execution up front was nearly flawless. What was the game plan coming in? How did you execute it to get to victory lane tonight?
I mean, really, it was just me and Logan working together. Everyone else kind of just picked up along the way. Sucks he's getting EOL'd. I wasn't really pushing for the win in the LCQ or nothing. I was just trying to make the race. And I guess we got it anyways, but I feel terrible for him and Miles too. I tried to lift off of Steven, and then Freddie shoved me right through him. So pretty unfortunate, but it's just, this is the little race. The big race is tomorrow, so we're not going to celebrate too much. We're just going to get in the right headspace and try to win tomorrow.
Well, let's start to look forward to tomorrow. Again, a former PGR Series champion, done about all there is to do in the iRacing service, but a PGR crown jewel is still, hanging in the balance for you in terms of your super speedway career and sim racing career. How do you get the job done tomorrow, and what would it mean to you to win $2,000 in a championship belt?
I mean, obviously the money's great. The belt would be cool, but to get it done, I mean, it's going to be, I wouldn't say a lot of luck, but there's obviously luck involved. I think I'll have some great teammates going on tomorrow. We just have to make sure that we put ourselves in good positions, think smart, don't put myself somewhere I'm in jeopardy of getting wrecked immediately. I just have to play it real smart. Whether I ride in the back or try to lead the whole race, I don't know yet. I guess we'll have to play it as it goes out.
Well, Dylan, obviously a win for you here tonight in LCQ number 2 is going to put you into the SummerSlam feature. Obviously, again, it's not the way you wanted to do it. It's mixed feelings, I'm sure. But in the meantime, now to turn your attention to Sunday. Before we let you go and get prepped for that race tomorrow afternoon, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Well, all the guys that worked with these past few races, Helton, he was a great person to work with. Nanny, obviously RFK Racing, and Ryko Performance.
Dylan, thanks for the time. Congratulations on the win here in LCQ number 2, and we'll see you tomorrow afternoon for the SummerSlam 499.
Yep, thank you.
Dylan Basin, the winner here of LCQ number 2. Again, after Logan Helton was given a penalty for the restart violation. So again, unofficially as of now, we know that there is still an incident being looked at by race control. But for now, Dylan Basin, the winner, Freddie Bassinez second, then Chris McCullough will unofficially finish third, Brock Westmoreland in fourth, Evan Karlbahn fifth, Thomas Komaczynski, heck of a run for the TWRS driver in sixth, Devin Ray in seventh, Aaron Smith will as such be the final driver in the top 8. And beyond them, the drivers eliminated are as such: Andrew Zanto in 9th, Hunter Hastings 10th, Austin Call 11th, Matthew Zwack 12th, Trey Whitehead in 13th, Craig Jancic in 14th, and Landon Velicki in the 15th spot. Michael Sturgill in 16th, Michael Barksdale 17th, Matt Patton in 18th, Aubrey Thompson in 19th, Chris Blanchard in 20th, Asher Little 21st, Stephen Miles 22nd. You want to talk about some names on names eliminated down here towards the tail end. DJ Thomas 23rd, Jeff Merkel raced later in the last chance provisional race. For now, finishes 24th, Daniel Nanny in 25th, Josh McCullough 26th, David Giusti in 27th. Should be noted that actually Helton will finish in the 26th position by virtue of that penalty. So Josh McCullough in 27th, David Giusti in 28th. Working back down towards the tail of the field against some more guys that did not make it in by virtue of this race. Harrison Santos in 29th, Keith Haley in 30th, Dawson Barker 31st, Brian Hennings in 32nd, Isaac Treese 33rd, Chris Carter in 34th, Caden Diedrich in 35th, and Austin Petrie Adger involved in an incident on the opening lap of this race out in 36th. We are getting word from race control. The rest of the top 8 are official. So everything else beyond the Logan Helton penalty is official. So again, the 8 drivers moving on to tomorrow: Basin, Bassines, Chris McCullough, Westmoreland, Carlbon, Kolmacheski, Ray, and Aaron Smith. The 8 drivers moving on from this last chance qualifier race. Well, the LCQs are done. The heats are done. The 40-car grid before provisionals is set. And that leaves us now with just a couple of races tonight. The next one is an extra special one. The pole shootout, the top 24 shootout, whatever you want to call it, is going to be must-watch television coming up after this. It's in just a few minutes here on PGR Esports. The top 24 on the grid will race for their starting spot. One of the most exciting races we have ever seen in a marquee event here in PGR. For all of our supporters here in the LCQs, including Junior Motorsports and Loudhorn, as well as CCR, the Flying Aces and that towing company, and for my broadcast crew in the LCQs, in Jim Bob, Garrett Jenkins, our producer Michael Triscaro, I want to thank you all so much for your attendance and participation in this first broadcast of the night. The poll shootout is coming up after this. It will be a separate broadcast link. It's been posted on the PGR page. Go under the live tab and look for the poll shootout broadcast, which is a purple background with a similar thumbnail that you've seen this week. It says poll shootout on there as we get ready for this race coming up. You won't want to miss it. The heat winners, the top 3 in each heat coming up after this, will race for the front row of tomorrow's SummerSlam 499. Join us for that in just a few minutes. Until then, good night for now from Talladega.